The Better Sports Network presents the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show.
What's up, everybody? Good morning and welcome into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show presented by Better Sports Network. We are here every morning from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I'm your host, Simon, joined as always by my co-host, John Luke and Coop A. Fiasco.
Coop.
What's up, boys?
What up?
Sports.
Sports.
It's the first thing we think about when we roll out of bed in the morning. It's the first thing we're going to talk about over here today, guys. How are you guys doing this morning before we, get into all the sports talk?
Waking up. Feeling good. You guys have reinvigorated me.
It's Friday, baby. Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah. Smash that fun button for Friday.
Fun Friday. We need a fun Friday button.
Let's go. We got to break that fun button for Friday.
Joe, you got your M-Will jersey on this morning. You feeling flashy?
I'm feeling very not flashy. I'm feeling factual because Mike Williams is the truth.
Mike Williams is the truth. I more meant the lightning bolts on your shoulder. You get what I mean?
Oh, yeah. That makes more sense than what I said. Man.
You feel like making an unnecessary dive for a ball? And
I feel like going down hard, yeah.
Risking breaking your collarbone on any given play.
All day, like Jail's fiance will drop a coffee mug in the kitchen and Jail's going to be in the living room and just try to dive over there and grab it. Or his dog's going to drop a toy. Jail goes full body extension backwards to try to get it before it hits the ground.
Makes the play. Makes the play. Shatters every bone in his body, dude.
Yeah.
That's Mike Will living, dude. That's the Mike Will. It's the Mike Will way.
Yeah, the Mike Will way is paper mache neck.
Guys, we got some people in the chat hanging out with us already this morning. I see Maria in the chat. Hello, Maria. Good morning. Welcome in. And Andrew Hall says, sup, Coop and the boys.
Andrew,
he made it, dude. I was on his show last night at till 11 at night. We just don't sleep. We're just talking sports all the time.
Just all the time.
Me and Hall pulled an all-nighter.
Get in the game. What's up? Welcome in.
In the game.
And I see Skeeter down there. Good morning. Good morning, Skeeter. Glad to have you guys in here.
We got Frank in the Front Yard Fantasy. We got Ryan Crawford in the Front Yard Fantasy chat.
Man, we got a whole squad ready this morning to hang out, guys. And we are going to talk sports like promised, because there was something that happened yesterday that I wanted to talk about that we missed on a little bit. And that was the Philadelphia Eagles reportedly claimed former 49ers. The 49ers running back Trey Sermon off of waivers on Thursday via Adam Schefter on Twitter. I know we talked about this a little bit before we came on air, Coop, and you just seemed exasperated at this move. Just like it was the worst thing that could have happened.
It sounds like, at this point, the Eagles have 40-90 running backs, right?
40-90s.
What are they doing?
Wait, that kind of works.
Where does he fit? So they already, if you really wanted to meet out the roles, they already have the between the 20s Miles Sanders and the pass catching Kenneth Gainwell and the goal line Boston Scott. And they have the leech Jalen Hurts stealing all the fun carries for himself. Where does Trey Sermon fit into that?
Hit that fun button.
Why, man, at this point, let's just bring back Jordan Howard too. Let's just bring everybody back, and everyone will touch the ball one time a game, and it'll just
get J.J. in there as well.
And
know what I mean?
Don't forget LeGarrette Blount, guys.
Get him in there. Get him in there.
We're gonna assemble the best team of running backs ever seen.
Brian Westbrook, Deuce Staley. Let's get them all.
What's his name? No, Smallwood. No, what am I thinking?
The little guy.
Wendell Smallwood.
Wendell Smallwood. I got
Darren Sproles. Is that who you were thinking of?
That's who I was I was trying to think of his name, yes, but Smallwood's a little guy too.
Even if some of those guys are 40 or 50 years old, if everyone's getting one carry a game, they'd probably be all right.
They can handle that.
Corey Clement.
Can you bring back Corey Clement?
Why
don't we just spend the rest of this segment? Yeah, any Eagles running backs we can remember.
That's kind of proves our point. No.
And make sure to stay on. We're going to switch teams, and then we're just going to name former Titans running backs for as long as we can. And we're just going to keep on going like that for the rest of the show. But I'm guessing with the way we're talking about these guys that we ended up just going into a tirade. There's no interest in Trey Sermon for fantasy this year. None.
No.
Oh God, no. There wasn't any. No. I really wasn't interested before.
Is there any dynasty hope? Is there any reason to hold on hope? The fact that he got claimed off of waivers, is that giving you a reason to stash him in dynasty, or are you just
I have one of my favorite dynasty leagues, my hometown dynasty league. We have a rule where if someone on your active roster gets cut, you have to chug a beer and send it to the chat.
Yes.
Right? So Trey Sermon has now been cut. So somebody already had to chug a beer, and you've entered that. This is like the danger zone. Like, people don't think about this unless you have a rule like this. Once a dude gets cut once, he starts getting cut like all the time. Like, there are some guys.
Snowball effect.
There's some guys who get picked up and cut, especially a dude like this, because he's on his rookie contract, so he's still like eligible for practice squads and stuff. Like, dude, once you start getting cut once, like, I've seen guys get cut 3 or 4 times within a year or two. So like, he's a pretty dangerous person to roster in a league like that.
Coop, right before roster cut day, do you purposefully just pick up a bunch of players that you think are going to get cut? So you can tell your fiance, like, I got to do it. It's the rule. Like, I have to chug these 6 beers.
I look at my phone. I'm not sitting at dinner with it's like my her parents' anniversary, and we're all sitting at dinner at their house. I look at my phone. I'm like, oh, sorry guys, Travis Fulgham got cut for the 3rd time today. And I
got any Mike's hard?
Take my fork and just shotgun a beer at the table. Yeah, I mean, you know what?
Pull a warm one out of your pocket.
It's a tough league. Yeah, I just happen to have this with me.
It's in a glass bottle.
League,
it's a natty light.
It's a natty light in a glass bottle.
A glass bottle.
Just blood dripping down my mouth. I'm like, congrats on the anniversary, Janet.
Janet.
It's like a 40 glass that you just poured natty light into.
That's kind of how we do stuff. So yeah, it's a pretty sharp league.
Pretty sharp league. We had a question. I hate you. This early in the morning, Coop, with that wordplay. Because we had a question from Ryan Crawford in the chat. So there was some chatter about OBJ potentially ending up going to the Bills. So first, to start with, do you think this is going to happen? And then we'll talk some fantasy implications. Coop, do you think OBJ is going to end up on this Bills team?
So there was a narrative to that, and that is because they signed help me guys, the defensive lineman. They signed Von Miller. And Von Miller is very good friends with Odell Beckham Jr. Yeah. Apparently, they became very good friends when they were playing together on the Rams last year. I saw them together at a basketball game in the offseason, and there was a big push. It's basically Odell's going to go to the Rams with the Bills, is what people were saying. And I would love for it to happen, just to see everybody, all the Gabriel Davis fans,
all the Gabe Davis tilter, yeah.
Exactly. Like, I want Will Fuller to go there too. You know what I mean? Just to see it happen. I love the number one thing I like, actually probably the number 2 thing I like most is when my guys do something awesome. The number 1 thing I like most is when something like stirs the pot. Like when Melvin Gordon got re-signed, I was on there just sending gifts,
chaos.
just mean gifts. Yeah. So I don't know, Joe. What do you think? Do you think he'll have a fantasy impact if he goes there?
I think he could have a fantasy impact. I think what he more likely does, I don't think it's necessarily a positive impact. I think what he does is he ends up making it confusing and just taking value away from the other guys on the team. And I don't think he's going to get enough value to make him just valuable enough.
Good question, Ryan Crawford. That's a good one.
Yeah, very good question.
Jay, I do disagree a little bit though. Like I think if he shows up, like he showed up in that Rams offense middle of the season, no practice, and immediately was a fantasy impact. Like immediately. Sure. I think he's the second best wide receiver on this Bills team if he gets signed there. And the wide receiver 2 on the Bills is a fantasy relevant player. That's someone that I want on my team. Like if they're going to solidify that role, and I think he would. And then the big bonus is Josh Allen was already probably your quarterback 1, but if they get another weapon like Odell Beckham Jr. in that offense, man, like that solidifies him. That maybe takes it. So I'm more confident taking Josh Allen over the Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes tier if OBJ gets added into that offense. It's just another weapon.
Simon just told you to shut up, Jay.
I know.
He was like, shut your mouth.
I was like, excuse me? Excuse me, Simon?
Excuse me, dude? I thought we were all in. We didn't know about this question until Ryan asked in the chat, but I thought we were all in agreement on this. Simon.
Yeah, better watch yourself, buddy.
No matter what I say the rest of the show, I'm just going to go with I disagree with you a little bit, even if I completely agree, just to make it contentious.
Go straight for shut up. Just be like, shut up.
Shut up.
What's worse? What's worse? Grimace starting every sentence with duh, or just starting every sentence with shut up.
Can you change?
Shut up.
Shut up.
Shut up.
just shut up, though, for real. All right.
I saw another question in here from Getting the Game. Says OJ Howard in Houston. What do you think, Coop?
They've got a real ragtag collection of misfit toy tight ends over there now, man. After signing, they also signed what's it, dude? They signed they already had Pharaoh Brown and Brevin Jordan, who we like. Regardless of who they signed at this point, unless it's a pure pass catching tight end, then we're gonna like Brevin Jordan. He's the guy who ran 80% of the routes this offseason with the starters, and he's in that top chair. Oh yeah, they signed somebody they already. Oh, they tried to trade for Durham Smythe, but they tried to trade for Adam Shaheen, but he didn't pass his physical. So that's what that was. So they were looking for a blocking tight end, is what they've been doing. They only had 2 on the depth chart. They had Pharaoh Brown, who is a pretty clunky blocking type guy. Brevin Jordan, who plays at worst a Cameron Brate or Anthony Ferkser style role, but we're hoping it's more of a Mark Andrews, Mike Gesicki slot type role, right? You look at that depth chart and it's Brandon Cooks, Nico Collins, and then what? Chris Moore. They cut Chris Conley and re-signed him. They signed Tyler Johnson, who got cut by the Bucs, but they really got nothing going on. I could see a lot of 2 tight end sets with Brevin Jordan. That's why he's interesting.
The disrespect towards Philip Dorsett as being a wide receiver on that team.
Former first round pick. When the Patriots traded for him, I was like, we did it.
He did it.
It was like George Bush on the aircraft carrier. I was like, we did it. We got him. That panned out awesome.
God, OJ Howard, it breaks my heart that I am not excited for this move at all. That I just have no hope for it. I don't think he's going to be a fantasy relevant tight end. And he's one of the tight ends that I fell in love with as a prospect coming out, and that just never worked. It felt like every year I was like, this is the year. This is the year. No, this is the year. And I kept on drafting him, and it just didn't come together. I don't think moving to the Texans is going to be that solution.
Speaking of loving chaos, OJ Howard every single year was every single time that he would catch a really nice catch and people on Twitter would just blow up, it would give me satisfaction. I'd be like, oh, here comes OJ Howard messing things up again.
There it
making
is,
things confusing.
Yeah, I think the biggest impact of this whole saga here is Dawson Knox, man. There's nothing really holding him back from being an every down player. They seem to like him a lot. The Bills, in my opinion, are cheaters, and they run that RPO, and they have, I swear to God, they run the RPO and they have their linemen go downfield, and the refs are just like, whatever. But when you're a linebacker, here's why that matters. When you're a linebacker, and Nick Saban was a person that was like, I don't like this RPO stuff, right? And this is why. Because when you take a shotgun snap and fake a handoff, if the linemen go downfield, the linebackers are looking at the linemen and thinking, okay, if this guy goes downfield, they can't throw it or it's ineligible man downfield. So the second that guard takes 2 steps forward, all the linemen collapse, all the linebackers collapse, and even the safeties. And then Josh Allen pulls it back and throws it. And it's on the refs to make that call. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. But I've seen a ton of plays where they didn't. In the playoffs last year, on one of them they did. On the Dawson Knox touchdown that got called back, that's what happened on that play. But keep an eye out for that, because that is what makes the RPO unstoppable. Is if your linemen are really good at fake run blocking, you can really draw all the linebackers and safeties in. That's what makes it such a dangerous play. And Dawson Knox is a huge beneficiary of that.
We got Keith talking smack in the chat saying Koopa's just mad Cam Newton didn't work out. And you're just venting frustration. Yeah, it's weird that you're so convinced that one team in the league is a cheater and it happens to be a division rival of the Patriots. Just such an odd coincidence on that.
Patriots not cheaters. Yeah. I mean, wait, Keith, didn't we fire that guy? That Keith.
Yeah,
guy?
But we had to bring him back. Yeah, we had to bring him back for today.
Yeah, we don't want to do that work. We want Keith to do it.
So he's back at least for Friday. We'll see if he makes it through the weekend.
Smash that fun button if you're Team Keith. Do we have any Team Keith people in the chat?
Let us know. Shout out Keith.
Chat is ghost. No one's talking.
Everybody has left the chat.
Everyone left the chat.
Except for Brad. I see Brad in the YouTube chat over there. Says, hey guys, much love from the land down under. We've gone international, boys. Yeah.
Put another shrimp on the line.
Is it
Shout out, Brad. Brad's the
what
man.
time is it in Australia?
Eyes obliged.
I have no idea what time it is.
6
Also, I see Ryan asking, who is Keith? Don't worry about it. He's our producer.
The producer. But we do have some Team Keith people in the chat getting the game with the Keith shout out. You know what? Smash that fun button for old Keithy.
Also, I see
don't
Hazard's
don't bother.
Hazard's
ahead,
mom
Sam.
in the chat saying good morning and saying that her son Hazard started his first day of high school and wants a shout out for the Pachogue Medford High School JV football today. They've got their first scrimmage. They're going to kill it. I've never been more positive about anything in my life than Hazard and his teammates are going to mess things up in that
Hazard
scrimmage. They're going to kill it.
Okay,
With a
even
name
though
like Hazard, how are they not going to win, right?
I was gonna say, even though we don't play, let me ask you guys, Simon, what position do you think Hazard would play?
Hazard plays safety.
And he just coming down like Weapon X, like just murdering people.
Hazard.
What do you think, JL? What do you think? What
Tight
position
end.
has?
Easy hat.
Oh yeah, just
Name
like
Hazard. You kidding me? It's the tight Dawson Knox Hazard.
yeah,
Let's
just
go.
like the kind of
It's a
dude like
badass name.
he just
That's
spits
an
out a
edgy name.
tooth.
It's-
I got
that's-
Hazard.
And that's
I
Hazard.
pictured Hazard being like a nose tackle, dude. And he's just
Hazard just gets
just
the
like
work done.
just a bulldog. The bulldog. They got him on a chain, dude, and they just let him go. They just like
Got that
he
dog
just,
in him.
right? And he's just like he doesn't even look that big, dude, but he's always in the backfield. Like
He gets in their
that's
head.
what I picture Hazard being.
Yeah, he gets in their head. It's a mental game for Hazard.
Yeah.
Hazard's mom says might be center. Also, Brad,
Yeah, okay,
I
so
just
he's
gotta
like a Creed Humphrey then.
Brad Bolt let
Yes,
us know
definitely.
said it's 8:45 p.m. where he is, and I have never been more confused in my life on how you are a half hour. Like I thought I was starting to understand the whole time zone thing. It's like my arch nemesis is time zones. Are you telling me there's half hour time zones? Like there's just a time zone that's a half hour off, and it's going to be 8:45 there. Or does Brad need to update his clocks? Like maybe Brad, your clock might be 30 minutes
I
behind.
didn't
I'm not sure.
Simon. I just blindly accepted that was the
How's
truth.
that?
It's 8:45 there.
Hey, Brad,
Guys,
no,
I got to process that. That is a little bit. I don't even know what's going on, guys. Coming up soon.
Somebody explain.
We've got a new game we're going to be playing called No You Idiot. And then we got some topics that we need help making it make sense. We're going to be talking some fantasy quarterbacks later. And then Calvin Watkins covering the Dallas Cowboys is going to be joining us. And later in the show, Coach Grant Caraway, wide receivers and quarterback coach, is going to come in. And he's gonna grade some routes for us, some routes that maybe some people on screen ran. And we're going to talk wide receivers with him. And then a little bit of a college football breakdown from last night and some general rivalry talk. We're going to be talking some rivalries. And then everybody, just so you know, at any point during today's show, we could be giving away a signed NFL signed jersey. A signed NFL signed jersey, double signed. I said it twice because it's
Signed NFL signed
The
jersey.
second signature is by Keith, right?
Yeah,
second
Keith
signature is
signed
by
jersey.
Keith. Guys, so make sure you
So if
stay
you want
tuned
Keith
for
to
that.
ruin your signed NFL jersey, let us know.
Yeah, we're gonna, whenever it's time, we will tell you guys to hit that call in button, and somebody's gonna go home with a jersey. But make sure you stay tuned. We got No You Idiot coming up right next.
Follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Better Sports Network.
If you are better of the NFL like I am, the Detroit Lions were money last season. They were the best team against the spread in the league. Another home dog. Philadelphia Eagles come on the road as 4-point road favorites. And Joe, my thing is, people are falling in love with the Lions this offseason because of Hard Knocks, because of Dan Campbell. Everybody is talking about and loves. They have a soft spot in their heart for the Detroit Lions. And I get it. I do too. But the bottom line of the matter is this. They're still losing football games. So when I look at this game between the Eagles and the Lions, I think the public, right now, we're still seeing most of the money backing the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the public is going to come in and drive this number down, but I love this spot for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Do you really think that the money's going to come down on the Lions? Because CP, I think there is a lot of juice, especially after the Gardner-Johnson trade. I feel like there's a lot of juice about the Eagles being kind of the hot team out there, you know? I don't know. Are you sure? What makes you think that? Just curiously. I know the Hard Knocks factor is always a factor. And believe me, I love what Dan Campbell's doing there too. But I don't know, man. It kind of feels like the Eagles are kind of a hot team.
I think you look at the people that have bet these games already are the smart money, the wise guys, the sharp money. They're in on the Eagles. I think as we get to next weekend, and I think the public bettor is going to look at the Lions catching 4 points at home. And then you know what the public bettor is going to think? One of these road favorites are going to lose. And I think they're going to point to the Eagles. I understand the Eagles are getting a lot of love, but I think the more advanced bettor and fan is going after the Eagle. I think the public comes in heavy on the Detroit Lions. But like I said, I think it's a beautiful spot. This is a smash spot, in my opinion, for the Philadelphia Eagles.
If the public kind of views it as like there's going to be a letdown spot or something. You had the great offseason, but I'm not sure Jalen Hurts is the guy, all that stuff. Yeah, I can understand that and where you're coming from there. The one thing about this line is like Eagles are 4-point favorites. After they beat them by like 40 last year, oh man.
They smoked them last year.
That's always the kind of line that scares the hell out of me, quite frankly, CP.
This is the type of game where the Eagles will show up. This is the Eagles' wheelhouse, particularly from last season, beating up on a team that they are better than. And one thing, no matter how much you love the Lions and that offense and Dan Campbell and Hard Knocks, that defense stinks. And Philadelphia is going to run all over that defense. I think they're going to have a tough time with them.
Better Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better.
And we are back, everybody, here on the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show presented on Better Sports Network. We're talking sports, and we're about to get into a new segment, a new game that we are calling Know You Idiot. Before we do that, I see Joey in the chat saying, good morning, FYF fam. What's up, Joey?
Good
Glad
morning.
to have you in here. Joey, the winner of the Dante Culpepper jersey from yesterday, though I think he was debating between the Waffle House hat and the jersey. Coop, did you get any update on if he decided which one he was going to take?
Not yet, but I did warn him that fierce and heavy litigation would be coming down upon him if he chose the Waffle House hat. I mean, it's a choice you have to make, and you're entitled to this prize. I'm just saying we're going to protect it by any means necessary.
Of course.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean
if
we
you
won't
choose
fight
that
you.
prize, you may not get that prize. You may just get served.
And
That's all that's going to happen. We'll see you in court. Guys, this new game we're playing is called Know You Idiot. How this is going to work is I'm going to read a statement. Somewhere in that statement is something that is incorrect, okay? Something that is wrong. If you know what's wrong, you just got to call me out. You're going to call me out and be like, no, you idiot. This is the right thing. And point out what I said wrong in that statement because I don't know what's wrong with these. If you get it right, if you properly correct me, you're going to get a point, and the person with the most points at the end of this game will be our champion. Guys, if you're watching and you want to come up and play, hit that call in button and you can come play with our contestants, with JL and Coop. See if you can beat them. See if you can take them down. You guys ready for our first Know You Idiot statement of the show?
I am so ready for this. I am the biggest idiot on the show, so I know I'm going to win this one. Finally, it's going to be my first win of the week.
I think JL's the favorite here based on what he just said.
Because he's the biggest idiot.
I mean, you said it, not me.
Your words, not mine.
Yeah,
my words. I will own those words. I've got no shame in saying those words out loud.
I already said shut up.
To play.
I already said shut up. I already called JL an idiot. It's not even 7:30.
Kind of your
shtick. You know what we say? You get the opportunity to come on and just call me an idiot, and all of a sudden there's 400 people waiting to come in. Like every single person, just all of a sudden it gets posted on Facebook. Like, quick! If you've ever wanted to call Simon an idiot, this is your chance. Actually, you could do it whenever. Just I'll post my phone number on Twitter. Just leave me a nasty voicemail if that's what you want to do. Guys, here is your first Know You Idiot statement. If you think you know it, just call me out. And if you want to interrupt me, you can interrupt me in the middle of it. You don't have to wait until I'm done if you notice something wrong. Here is the first statement. Last season, all of these wide receivers had an ADOT. That's an average depth of target over 15. Cortland Sutton had an ADOT of 15.4. Tyler Lockett had an ADOT of 15.83, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling had an ADOT of 17.91.
JL, no, you idiot, is what I meant to say. Cortland Sutton didn't have that high of an ADOT.
I think he did. Have a
Cortland Sutton did have
I'm the idiot again.
I was looking that one up because we know Russell Wilson likes to move the ball downfield. So I was thinking who might be the beneficiaries, and both Sutton and when he plays KJ Hamler has a high ADOT. The other ones, I'm not going to say no, you idiot, but
I will say I forgot to say that in the beginning. If you don't say no, you idiot, it's Jeopardy style. You're not going to get the point. And the other person could just jump right in and steal it. And just steal your answer.
One of them is
I can go
definitely
again?
wrong, or is it?
Yeah,
One
this
of them,
is there's not necessarily that. Maybe I lied about what ADOT stands for as well. Know what I mean? Just
Okay.
somewhere in that sentence
yeah,
is something that's
yeah.
incorrect.
So I think that. So okay, well, I will now say no, you idiot. And I think that I know the Sutton one's right, and the Marquez Valdez Scantling one, I feel is actually right as well. So I'll say that Tyler Lockett didn't have that.
No, you idiot. Tyler Lockett had an ADOT of 14.64. I am the idiot. You found it, Coop. And that is going to give you 1 point. You sussed it out. But it didn't sound like you were surprised by Marquez Valdez Scantling having that high of an ADOT.
Yeah, he's been that guy. You know, he's like they've used him as the field stretcher opposite of Devontae Adams. And there's kind of two split ends in this league, right? So it's like you can use a tight end or you can use a split end, but they have to be tethered to the line. There's a prototypical split end, which is like a Mike Evans, just a big bodied dude who could beat the jam, right? And from that inline position, which is usually what happens, is you can't go in motion. You have to have your foot right on the line. Des Bryant was an example. And then the other one is the field stretching split end, which basically you put a really fast guy out there, hope he beats the jam and can get downfield. That's what MVS has been. And that's what I think he'll be with the Chiefs too. So,
and on that note, I know there's been like the hype has died down because he hasn't been on the field and Dubs has stepped up, but it seemed like a very clear MVS replacement whenever they drafted Christian Watson, like just this very tall, very fast wide receiver. Like I know there's hype around Christian Watson maybe stepping into a bigger role, but I think what we saw from MVS in that Packers offense is what we're going to see from Christian Watson. And that's going to be hard to predict, but there will be big games. So that's how I'm feeling about Christian Watson. You correctly sussed out the statement in that first one, Coop. And we are going to go on to our next one. JL, you ready for this one? You still got plenty of time to get back in this game.
Oh, I can't wait.
Okay, here we go. Here's your next statement. These players had at least 10 20-plus yard runs last season. Dalvin Cook finished the year with 11. Rashad Penny also finished the year with 11. And Nick Chubb finished the year with 12 runs of at least 20 yards.
No, you idiot. And I'll say it was actually Dalvin Cook that didn't have the runs.
Coop, that is exactly right. Dalvin Cook only had 9 runs of 20-plus yards last season.
This game's dumb. I don't want to play it anymore.
I'll tell you why I know this one, because I know Nick Chubb routinely has one of the highest, if not the highest, breakaway run rates. And we're doing a series at Fantasy Alarm right now. If you haven't checked it out, it's awesome and it's kind of funny. Howard Bender decided, like, we had all these players we were all disagreeing on. Howard's like, you know what? I'm just going to pit you guys against each other. And he sent out an email saying, if anyone on this list, if you really like them or don't like them, let me know. And then he took people that like them and they're having them write an article against people that don't like them head to head. So I just did one on Rashad Penny saying why I didn't like him. And I read the other person's argument and I was like, wow, that's a lot of breakaway runs for Rashad Penny. Like he's a home run hitter. So we just did that. But go check out that series because there's a bunch of awesome ones in there and you can read through it and get both sides of the argument and decide for yourself. So it's kind of cool.
Love that.
I see JB Cho in the chat saying top of the morning to y'all. What's up, Cho? What's up?
Morning,
Welcome
Joshua.
in.
Cho knows.
How do y'all look so awake? Coop, one of the best. Coop is one of the best.
It's one of the best.
It's a filter. It's a filter that just like removes the bags from under my eyes. No, these guys give me the energy in the morning whenever I wake up. I'm a little sleepy until the second I start talking to Coop and JL. And then I get a little bit more excited. And then I stop talking to them and all of a sudden I get sleepy again.
Oh.
Could you guys just stay in my AirPods throughout the entire day? Just like randomly
Absolutely
yelling
not.
sports and Coop, you just like randomly scream Evan Ingram or Grimace at random points throughout the day?
That's kind of what I already do. So if you were just, if I just keep you on speaker, then you'll just be involved in that kind of thing.
Okay, perfect. And Craig in the chat, Jail, giving you some encouragement, saying you're still number one in our hearts, even if you can't be number one in any of the games. This week.
Any
Not a
single
one.
game that you've ever played.
Smash that fun button for JL. I think he needs a little fun this morning.
Hit me with that pity button.
Pity button.
Also, the pity button. Joey's letting us know why he chose the Waffle House hat over the Culpepper jersey. He said Culpepper played 105 games in his NFL career. Only one Coop hangover Waffle House hizzy visit. It's a one of a kind.
It's a one-on-one item.
Yeah, it's one of one.
I'm gonna wear that hat by the end of the year.
How dare you?
Guys, we're going to move into our next statement. JL, you still have time to come back. It's not over. We
All
got
right.
a couple more. You can at least tie this game up. Here is your next statement. These players made over 80 solo tackles last season. CJ Mosley had 83, Devin White had 81, and Minka Fitzpatrick had 80.
False, you idiot. Shoot, I've already forgot the name. Mosley didn't have that many.
Mosley did have 83.
Of course he did, is what I
tackles
meant to
last year.
say.
83 solo tackles.
I'll tell you right now, I have no idea. I have no
What?
idea. I will go with. Well, this is what I'm gonna do. One of them's a defensive back, and one of them's a linebacker. So I feel like with these, you're trying to trick us. So I'm guessing the defensive back had the tackles, the linebacker didn't. So I'll say Devin White did not have 80.
You got double tricked, Coop. Devin White did have 80. No, you idiots. Minka Fitzpatrick only had 76 solo tackles last season. Did not hit that. Minka Fitzpatrick.
No,
That's actually the proper pronunciation, Jail. I apologize for not saying it that way the first time. That's how you're supposed to say his name. It's offensive if you don't say it like that. Brad in the chat saying, Simon with that DJ Moore jersey right there may now be my favorite FYF member. That's music
offensive.
Brad, you are moving up the rankings right now.
I see our late night Twitter DMs meant nothing to you, Brad.
Unbelievable.
Joe, all you had to do was get a DJ Moore jersey.
I know.
That's it.
I didn't realize Brad's love was so easily bought.
Craig in the chat saying, thank you for including IDP in it today, Simon. Yeah, that was all me.
That's for you, Craig.
I did it just for you.
Yeah.
That's just for you guys. Before that next question, if you haven't done so already, you're watching this on our YouTube or wherever else, and you want to call in and get in, the easiest way to do that is to make sure you've downloaded the Better Sports Network app. Download it, register, and then there's one button that you push, call in to come hang out with us. And there's another button, the fun button, that you smash just to smash it. Let us know that you're here and see if we can break it again on this Friday. So download the Better Sports Network app and make sure you are registered. Maria down there saying pity fun taps. Yeah, we take
fun taps.
Fun tap's a fun tap.
Tap is tap.
Does the fun
And a
button
trap's
work
trap.
if you have your finger trap on?
Trap
Coop?
taps. It's you actually get. I've noticed that the taps are worth double, and you have a double chance of winning an autographed jersey when you have a finger trap.
Hashtag finger trap gang.
Yeah, hashtag finger trap. Somebody, I'm not sure if Andrew Hall is still in here, but when I was on his show last night, somebody in the chat for that show popped in and was like hashtag finger trap game, and that's how I know you. That's how I know you're a real fan. That's how I know you've been here since the start of this show, way back on Monday.
You got all the way back to episode 1 on Monday.
All the way back on Monday.
You guys want to know how much of an idiot I am?
Started.
Yeah, I would love to.
I was sitting in my office yesterday evening, and I look over and I realized that all day I had been staring at this, but never once made the connection. But yesterday, I put my plant on my desk.
So there's their plant, dude.
There's
like
their
you
plant.
had it the
and we
whole
were
time.
all talking about it yesterday, being goofy, and it's like literally this is sitting in front of me like this, and I'm like, I don't have anything.
You got to get some sunglasses on that thing pronto.
I know, absolutely, some googly eyes on the pot. There it is.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you got to
That
dress him
boy.
up a little bit, JL. Get that costume going. We need
going to Michael's
all I
this
want
weekend.
is a full-on mascot-sized outfit of Sir Plant. And JL, you have to be the one who wears it.
I go try and
Like,
replace Poe at the Ravens game.
As Sir
We
Plant.
were like, what the heck is
Sir
that
Plant as Sir
giant ugly
Plant?
plant?
That's their plant. You're gonna supplant him. That's nice, Simon.
Supplant him.
Look at you,
Poe.
Simon.
You've been supplanted. It's even funnier with like that being his voice, like a little bit raspier whenever he looks like that, like this cute little thing with a monocle, and he's like,
What up?
"You've been supplanted."
What up?
Just
It's
come
I'm gonna get
on.
my roots in you.
I forgot he was such a fancy little boy. Like
He
he's got
is
the
a fancy
monocle
little
going.
fancy boy.
He's a little fancy boy.
Guys, also Brad said, I said maybe JL. You are still number one in his heart.
He said maybe. Maybe.
Well, now my feelings are hurt, Brad.
Now we're both upset with you.
Brad, walk it back again to make me feel better because now my feelings are hurt. Let's move on to our next question, guys, in this segment. This is going to be our last question of the game. If you are ready for this, here is your final statement. All of these players ran over 22 miles per hour on a play last season. Jonathan Taylor hit 22.13 miles per hour. Jalen Waddle hit 22.09 miles per hour. And Patrick Surtain ran at a speed of 22.07 miles per hour.
No, you idiot. Surtain can't run that fast.
Surtain can run that fast.
No, he
I'm
can't.
sorry. He's a really fast guy. He's so fast.
Ugh.
So to put this in perspective, I actually was looking at the preseason speeds, and two of the fastest ones this preseason were Tyreek Hill and Raheem Mostert, but those were 21 miles an hour. So if you're running faster than Raheem Mostert, who 2 years ago had the number 1 and number 2 fastest speeds, and I guess Tyreek Hill is also pretty fast, then you are cooking. So my guess here would be that Jalen Waddle did not. I don't remember Jalen Waddle having on these high speed plays. You have to get a little space to get them. So I don't remember Jalen Waddle having a lot of big plays. I'm going to say Waddle did not run 22 miles.
Waddle did not run at 22 miles per hour. He broke 21 on a 57-yard touchdown reception from Tua Tagovailoa, but he did not hit that 22 mile per hour mark. Coop, you have won this game 3-0 over JL. JL, you have scored 0 points. And
I'm trying to keep a strong face, but I don't think I can.
Damn you, Coop. I just want to say that none of this could have been possible.
Oh, I'm seeing in the chat that you did not say no, you idiot. Coop didn't say no, you idiot. So
no, you idiot. Jalen Waddle didn't run that fast.
JL gets a point. JL gets a point.
Everyone knows that the penalty for that has been established, that you lose 5 points.
No, you idiot.
Say that. So that actually puts me at -2 points and JL with 0 as the winner.
Oh my God. This feels like a technicality win, and I do not like that.
Well, JL, if it makes you feel better, Coop just completely lied about that, and you still lost this game. You stole it, but you did get a point. It's going to be 2-1 after Coop fumbled the ball on that last one.
Shout out Tim for helping me out there.
Shout out Tim in the chat. Guys, Jalen Waddle, he did not hit 22 miles per hour last year, but he did break the rookie reception record. But now they added Tyreek Hill to this offense. How are we feeling about Jalen Waddle? Do you think he's still going to have a big enough piece of this pie? Is the pie big enough to make Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle both fantasy relevant?
I think that pie is bigger than most people think. I think that he'll have an opportunity to make an impact this year. I know.
I guess it depends on the kind of pie. If it's like a mincemeat pie, I want none of that. Like, get that out of here.
Why'd you go straight to that?
Dolphin
because
pie?
It's the grossest pie I could think of.
Dolphin
like that's a
pie.
real pie. Dolphin pie.
It is the dolphin.
That's not legal.
Dolphin pie. So yeah, I mean, the way I look at it, the problem for me with Waddle is not necessarily the big piece of the pie. I mean, like, he got a ridiculous number of targets last year. He needs those targets again because he had a super low average depth of target. We talk about those guys earlier. You know, you said Cortland Sutton has 15, Tyler Lockett 15, Marcus Valdez-Scantling 17. His average depth of target was only 7 yards last year, which is the same as like Amon-Ra St. Brown and a lot of those guys. So when you have a low ADOT like that, you do need a good number of targets to have the kind of upside that we're looking for. Because think about Amon-Ra. He was getting 10 to 12 targets a game and just barely cracking 100 yards. So for me, Waddle becomes a sort of a low upside guy. You know what I mean? When they add a guy like Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I see Tim in the chat saying low ADOT because Tua had less than 2 seconds to throw last year.
Yeah.
Do you think? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to follow up to Coop's point. I think he's absolutely right. I think it does cap Waddle's upside, and we might not see the same type of season as last year. I do think that offense is going to pass more and be more successful than they were last year. And so I do think that he's going to have opportunity, is what I'm saying. Not necessarily that it's going to be that he has the same exact opportunity as last year.
Do you think Waddle out targets Tyreek Hill in this offense, like with the roles that they're going to play?
I think he could, honestly. And that's the key, is the end of that sentence, Simon. The roles they're going to play.
Yeah.
Craig said everyone talks about A-Dot. When will B-Dot and C-Dot get some love?
Next season.
That's a good question, Craig.
2023 is the year of the B-Dot. Guys, coming up in a little bit, we've got a new segment called Make It Make Sense. I need some help making something make sense. JL and Coop are going to help me out. And then we've got a fantasy QB outlook. We're going to be talking some quarterback strategy. And then Calvin Watkins covering the Dallas Cowboys, is coming on with us. And then later we've got Coach Grant Caraway coming on, wide receiver and quarterback coach. He's going to help us break down some of our own routes, some routes that we've run. He's going to give us the breakdown on those. Then we'll talk some NFL wide receivers. And then we're going to talk some backyard brawl a little bit later as well. The West Virginia Pitt game that went down last night, and then talk about rivalries that we love. I see Scott Fish in the chat saying this is easily a top 10 morning show on this channel. Wow.
On this channel.
Just the unbelievable support from Scott Fish. You
Wow,
love
earlier to the Certain prompt, he said Michael Scott is faster than both. And that is factually true. What was it, 45 miles an hour that he on the show?
Yeah. Michael Scott ran 45 miles per hour. I'm absolutely positive of it. We'll make sure to throw some office facts in there next time in these Know You Idiots.
Yes.
If we can get some of that in there. What if it was just like random things, like some office, some football, all just jammed into a sentence, and I'm like, where am I lying? Just tell me.
I think that's more in line with the vibe of this show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably a little less football.
Yeah, a little more chaos.
Guys, we're going to talk some Make It Make Sense in a second.
Yo, speaking of cards, I got two things I want to bring up, and I got them ready for the show today.
Sure.
First of all, I don't know if you ever played this Topps Home Run Challenge game.
No,
Like
I
a genius. So I'm in love with Annalise Garcia. So basically what you do is you scratch off the back, right?
Yeah.
And it gives you a code, and you go and you punch it in, and then you have to pick the game that he's going to hit a home run in, right?
Okay, I never heard of that before.
And then if you do that, you get like a special limited edition card, and it's limited to how many people actually picked he would hit a home run that month.
Cool.
And then you could double down. If he goes over 425 feet, you get like an extra special card.
Yeah.
So I went on eBay, like, because I like Annalise Garcia, like, because all the rest are big names. I got 6 of them, and I totally forgot to punch them in. So I got the plan. I think they're coming up Colorado soon or something.
There he goes right there.
I have a month left to punch in 6 Annalise Garcia home run cards.
There you go.
We can
Congratulations.
do that live on the show if you'd like.
Sure.
Here's the second one.
Okay.
And I think you're gonna like this. I was at Target, and they had Garbage Pail Kids. And
That's pretty cool.
It was Garbage Pail Kids Bookworms, it's called, and it makes fun of like book stuff. This is one of the greatest cards I've ever got in my life, and I'm trying to probably buy more. You see
Nice,
that right there?
That's pretty dope right there.
It's
That's
Winnie
pretty dope.
It's Winnie the Pooper,
Yeah.
and he's
that.
pooping on. Look at that.
I like that. That's dope right there. That's clever, Nando. You know,
This is the best card I've ever seen in my life. It's worth
when I was going to
$1.50.
elementary school, right, in the Washington Heights area in New York City, you used to walk down Broadway, and on Broadway and 150th Street, it was a dude. You would go in there, and he used to sell, like, you know what I'm saying? He used to sell the Garbage Pail Kids in the morning before we go to school. So
Nice.
everybody was in that store buying Garbage Pail Kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool right there. Yeah, just get that. So
sorry,
I'm up to deal with the Garbage Pail Kids. I think that's pretty cool.
It's Winnie the Pooper.
Yeah. I mean, you see the little poop emojis right there too. That's a
It's-
cool card, Nando. Yeah,
Right? You can get it for
Uh-huh.
like $2.
I like that.
I don't know why. This is my favorite thing in the world right now. I don't even know what to do with it. Like, I want to hang it up on my wall or something. Like, it's just so. Who comes
Yeah.
up with Winnie the Pooh pooping on? Winnie the Pooper.
I like that.
I gotta find something. They even have the balloons the same color as like the actual Winnie the Pooh
Yeah,
cartoons.
I like
Yeah.
it, Nando. That's sweet.
Anyway,
That's
sorry.
clever.
I just wanted to share that with you. I'll never
Thank
grow
you.
up. That's there'll be old man Corey. Wait a minute. Hey, turn your bass down. I'm going through my Winnie the Pooper
Turn
collection.
that NBA young boy down. I'm trying to do a show over here. What's going on? No respect. All that boogity, 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 all loud.
Better Sports Network. It's sports talk. Sports talk done better.
Welcome back in, guys, to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. And we are about to jump into our next segment called Make It Make Sense. I've got something, Coop, I think you might have something too, where we need a little bit of help making it make sense. And I'm gonna jump right into my thing. So there were reports that Baker Mayfield said to a reporter he was going to F up the Browns week 1, and Twitter went mad. People went wild saying it was ridiculous that he said that he shouldn't say things like that it was just giving ammunition to the other team, to the Browns to go up against them. And I'm going to be honest, guys, I don't get it. I don't get the outrage. He's on the Panthers now. He's not on the Browns anymore. The Browns did do him dirty after he was their quarterback for 4 years. Of course he wants to beat them. Know what I mean? Maybe he used some colorful language in the way he said it. He's claiming he didn't say it now. He came out and said, I did not say those words. She made it up. I said I wanted to win. But like, I don't know. What do people, we know he's this hyper competitive guy. We know the Browns. We saw the whole saga with the Browns and Baker Mayfield go down this offseason. I see no offense in him saying that. It makes sense. What do you want your quarterback to say?
Right. It's not like he's a linebacker either. Like, what's the difference when you're a quarterback? What's the difference between saying you're going to F up the Browns and you want to win? Like, it's the same thing. You're throwing a football. It's not like you're going to like be headhunting people or, you know, like what can Baker Mayfield really do to F somebody up besides win? You know, so I don't think it really matters what the way he says that he wants to win. And obviously he does want to win. So to me, I don't really care much about the way he said it or how he said it. It's not that big a deal to me. And I've always been in the camp of like, if you need motivation like that to win a game, then you don't deserve to win the rest of the games. You know what I mean? Like, it's your job. Go out there, win the game. So I'm not too worried about it. And I like Baker. I'm rooting for him.
Man, so you didn't help me make it make sense at all. You're on the same
just
side.
made it make less sense.
You just made it make less sense. Why people were mad. I just don't get why people were mad about it.
I think this is it. It's the same thing we see when a player leaves a team and goes to another team to get, you know, a higher contract. You see all these fans who go on Twitter, go on social media, and they burn their jerseys. First of all, not eco-friendly at all. Definitely should not just do that. But second part, the more important part, equally as important part, is I think they're just upset. I think this is like a butthurt situation. And I think that what you get is essentially these fans who get so attached to their loyalty to the team that they think everybody should be selfless for their team. But then you get these players like Baker who are just saying normal stuff. I tell Coop I'm going to F him up all the time. It's fine.
Every morning.
Every single morning. I said, do it right. Don't do it at all. I'm going to F you up.
And I'm always like, why you say that? And then Keith is like, we're going live. And so then we have to put on our brave our brave faces. But yeah, the show starts pretty contentiously, pretty much every day.
Jordan
big boy sport. Why are you worried about big boy language?
Why you say that?
Why do you say that?
I see Jordan saying maybe Baker should have said, I want to beat them respectfully. Just very respectfully. No, like come on. This is the dude that planted the flag in the middle of Ohio State's field. Know what I mean? Like, we know the kind of player that Baker Mayfield is. There's a chip that lives on his shoulder, and it's the world's largest chip. It's a crinkle cut, kettle cooked salt and vinegar chip that's sitting on his shoulder, the size of I forgot things that are about this big. Can anyone think of something? A gallon of milk. It is a chip-sized gallon of milk. A gallon of milk-sized chip.
A chip like that, dude. A chip like that would obliterate the corners of your mouth if you tried to.
Oh my God, your throat would be dead.
Be done. You'd be done.
I always think like eating a whole bag of salt and vinegar chips is a good idea. And there's multiple reasons why it's not. One, you shouldn't eat a whole bag, like family-sized bag of salt and vinegar chips, just from like a caloric intake perspective, like not very healthy. But number two is by the time you finish, you're not going to taste anything for the next 4 weeks. Like your mouth is entirely numb. Any cut you have, like cuts that have now been developed by the chips you're shoving in your mouth are now getting aggravated by the vinegar and salt that you're shoving in your mouth afterwards. It's just like, but I do it. I did it 2 days ago. I was
gonna say this sounds like a fresh experience you're describing.
I made mac and cheese and realized all my spoons were dirty. And so you know what the solution was? It was to eat it with salt and vinegar chips instead. Use the chips as a spoon.
I'm sorry, what?
It's a chip. It's a salty, crunchy chip. It's like breadcrumbs on top, but with a little bit of extra flavor, right? Just scoop the mac and cheese with a salt and vinegar chip.
I think everyone in the chat just left. You're eating mac and cheese with chips, dude? And you're talking about worried about the caloric intake of the chips themselves, dude?
Oh, I said it was I never said I was worried. I just said you shouldn't do it. Know what I mean? Okay. Like I made that decision consciously right there. And Andrew in there said, you're my hero, Simon. You know what? That might be the first time anyone's ever said that about my food take. No, what was the Scott Fish comment,
The
JL?
jerseys are like a flag. It's the only way to dispose of them. I think I made that up actually.
I like Brad Bolt's comment best. A whole bag of chips is fine because my doctor said they have no nutritional value.
There you go. So
Not
basically
negative,
it's zero.
not positive.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just a
exactly.
zero. You can eat infinite chips. Thank you, Brad. We needed that advice on the show this morning.
Also,
A
I don't
little
think we
bit of
touched
medical
on it,
advice.
but he was totally right about like the half-hour time zone thing.
Wait, like
Was
that's
he?
a real thing?
That's what he said. Yeah, he said it was like he's 30 minutes behind.
Brad, you are so freaking smart.
Is that just Australia
Melbourne,
or is that like
Sydney? I
is
have
that
no
like
idea.
Okay, I'm gonna bring us back to football right now, guys. Football. Here
This
we go.
is a football show. Football.
Football.
JL football.
I think
Football,
Keith,
JL.
Keith has been trying to remind us that at some points we do need to. Just want to warn
up,
fans. At
Keith.
some point, we're gonna have to talk about football. I apologize. We can't just talk about chips.
I know it's not what you want.
I know you want us to talk about chips for the entire show, but we will talk about football periodically. So bear with us, okay? So my make it make sense. This one comes as a Patriots fan. So I want you guys to make this make sense because I'm too close to the matter here. The Patriots coaches, when asked, none of them a week before the season seem to know who is going to be calling the offensive plays for this football club. Matt Patricia says he doesn't know. Joe Judge, Bill Belichick, none of the when asked, no one says, "Oh, I'll be calling the plays." So make that make sense to me.
Oh my God.
it's see, you're a fan of a team where every single year, Coop, they do stuff, and I'm asking myself, like, what the hell? Usually it's with their running back core. Know what I mean? Like, oh, this is the hot hand. This is the hot hand. Oh, wait, no, Rex Burkhead's going to get 40 carries this game. Like it just comes out of nowhere. And so I think my best way to rationalize this is Bill Belichick doesn't want to necessarily drastically change their offensive system. He's liked what they've had under Josh McDaniels, wants to keep it relatively similar. And maybe he doesn't know who's going to be the best one to take over that role. They've got Matt Patricia, former Lions head coach, right, as a potential option. They've got Joe Judge in there, formerly of the Giants, as a potential option. Maybe he doesn't have enough confidence in either of these guys either to call the plays. Maybe there's a world where he calls them this season. Like, he can be the guy calling plays. But I don't know. I doubt he allows that to happen. But I think maybe it's a desire to keep that offense similar. Or Patriots love throwing smoke up there. I feel like they love not giving that information to the other team. And maybe this is just the Patriots, like, they know internally, and they've just let everybody know on the outside facing conversations not to let anyone else in on the little Patriots secret.
Are there any other main talking points you'd like to steal from me?
No, go ahead. If you could just repeat the ones I said.
Okay. All right, cool. No, I think the second point that you made was the one I was going to bring up, which is whenever I see Bill Belichick make a move that doesn't like fully make sense to me, I step back. I'm like, is he playing some sort of game? And I think that's usually the case. I see Jordan Lupe in the chat said Patriots are usually the most transparent team in the league. So this is odd, which I'm reading as sarcastic. I hope that is sarcastic because otherwise, I'm sorry, I'm going to read it as the complete other way. I think that's what's going on here. I think Bill Belichick doesn't want to give his opponents any sort of information, and this is going to make it harder to scheme for week one.
I mean, that's Bill Belichick has kind of always been the guy of like, why would I say something if I don't have to? Like, there's, even with the injury reports where you have to disclose certain things, he would mess with them. Like, he would put Brady on the injury report every week as questionable because what does questionable even mean, right? So, like,
right.
He has no obligation to say who's calling the plays. Why would he? I guess that does make a lot of sense.
Keith has a theory. Keith said, I think Belichick doesn't know. He's starting to look towards retirement. Raising a new QB is hard work. It's like when parents accidentally have a baby in their 60s. Yeah, he just got Tom Brady out of the house, grew up, sent him off to college down in Tampa Bay. And then he accidentally has a new baby in Mac Jones that he's expected to raise and make him the next GOAT, the next Hall of Famer.
There was a hole in the draft condom and Mac Jones snuck through. And now they have this baby McCorkle in there.
Can we go back to the fact that Keith thinks people like regularly have babies, accidentally just have babies in their 60s?
Yeah, let's dissect
someone describe after the show.
There you go. Yeah.
Not it. Nose goes. Someone else has to have the birds and bees talk with Keith. It's not going to be me. And Keith said he has a weird search history. No doubt about that. Guys, we've got some more stuff coming up. Hopefully we provided some clarity there. Dale, I think you helped me a little bit on that Baker one. You know what? It does make sense. It does make sense. A fan base can only take so much, and they get butthurt. They get brutal. It's just some butthurt Browns. Is what we got going on over there. But guys, we're going to be talking some fantasy football quarterbacks, and then Calvin Watkins is going to be joining us of the Cowboys, talking some Cowboys a little bit later. We're going to be playing some fact or flash, talking about some players that flashed in the pan last year. And then Coach Grant Caraway is joining us to break down our wide receiver routes. And we'll be talking rivalries as well, college football, NFL, whatever rivalries. Maybe we'll talk Coop and Joey for that entire segment as the greatest rivalry in the history of the world. And everybody, make sure you've got your finger ready on that call-in button, because at any point during today's show, we could be giving away a jersey. We got a jersey giveaway coming up, an NFL signed jersey. Coop's trapped in that finger trap. Coop, take some time to get out of that finger trap, and we're going to be talking fantasy quarterbacks in a second.
Fernando and Friends, presented by Mayo Media Network. Court, I pulled this down. Like, hearing Ravel got me all like, oh man, collectibles. Check this out. Look at that.
That's like what? Pro Stars.
That's Michael Jordan and Wayne Gretzky.
Ooh.
It's an official like a still from the cartoon.
Oh, that's pretty dope. I like that. Where'd you get that from?
Yeah, eBay. It was like $45. It's authenticated. I got the authentication right here.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
I thought it was one of my, I really like. Started going to Comic-Cons and they had all these cartoon animation cells. They're called.
Yeah, I never been to a Comic-Con before. I like to sleep on Saturday mornings. No, I'm not dissing the Comic-Con crew. I'm not dissing them, Nando. I'm just saying, whatever. You know what I mean? I'm just.
You could go on a Thursday. Like I go on a Thursday because then the animation cell boxes. The boxes aren't picked over. You can get like I don't have that many. I have like 5.
They have Comic Cons in like every city. Like they have them. They're not just at the Javits Center, right? They have them like kind of. They're not gonna have one down here where I'm at, but they have them like all over, right?
Yeah, they're everywhere. Yeah, they're awesome. So anyway, that's not from Comic Con, but like I learned about it in Comic Con. I'm like, oh, they have Pro Stars. That's kind of
That's cool.
It's Michael Jordan, kind of dressed as Santa Claus.
Yeah, I see that.
For some reason, I never saw that episode. I don't remember that one. But
yeah, I don't remember many Pro Stars episodes. I never was a big cartoon guy. Like even when I was 5-6-year-old fantasy executive, my life was always based in reality.
Really?
Yeah.
So what were you doing on Saturday mornings?
Fishing. Fishing.
Yeah,
I was fishing. I was fishing in the Hudson River.
Well, I was going to say up the Tappan Zee Bridge. That sounds about right.
Off the West Side Highway.
Producers remember Pro Stars. You remember Pro Stars in the chat room? Like it was amazing. It was Bo Jackson, Wayne Gretzky, and Michael Jordan. Which I later found out in life it wasn't the real voices. Which it doesn't take that long to voice a cartoon.
You would think Michael Jordan, when he was on top of the world, was going to voice a cartoon?
Yeah, how long are you? Look, I mean, it takes this long as we're doing the show to step in there in front of a microphone and be like,
Michael Jordan,
Wayne, let's go get
Michael
the
Jordan like to gamble, smoke cigars. You know what I'm saying? I really don't see Michael Jordan pulling up to the animation studio to voice a cartoon.
You assume he would have made a little more money.
He got all the money in the world.
Oh, I guess you're right. Yeah.
He's a shoe mogul. Yeah. Michael Jordan don't need no money.
Maybe not at the time. It might be a good story to find out where those voice actors are now. Like, hey, these are Bo Jackson, Wayne Gretzky, and Michael Jordan. What do they do?
I know, that would be cool. That would be.
Let's have them on the show.
No.
No. Oh, I got it. We'll get those 3 voice actors to come on and do this year's Christmas special.
Oh, that's not a bad idea if we can find them.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team where you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Better Sports Network.
And we are back, everybody, with the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. And Coop, I don't even know if you saw this, but you just named Better Boss's team. You named Matt's team. He said hole in the draft condom, my new fantasy football team name. You know, I think every day we say a sentence that hasn't been said ever in the existence of humanity. And hole in the draft condom that Mac Jones snuck through, I think, is one.
That might be a new one. That might be a keeper.
Yeah, that absolutely might be a keeper. And Dale, we cannot hear you yet again.
Oh, I just made it funny. Man.
Oh, of course
you guys
did.
You guys
you know what? Jokes
it.
are always funny when you have to repeat them after you told someone how funny it was. So if you could repeat that joke
that's a pet peeve of mine, Simon. That is a huge pet peeve of mine. When someone's like, "No, tell it again," I'm like, "No, I'm not going to do that."
Okay.
Jail turned to
could you tell
jail.
it again?
Jail turned to jail, and he said, "No, shut up."
Shut up. Shut up.
Brad said he can't call in due to being international, but it's 9:30 p.m. He's been up since 4 a.m. He's heading to bed. Have a great rest of your show, fellas.
Sweet dreams,
Thank
Brad.
you, Brad, and thanks for tuning in Australia.
We appreciate you,
9:30.
Brad.
God, just these half-hour time zones. I feel like I've just been thrown off my game, even knowing that exists. Now I'm going to be contemplating that for the rest of.
I feel like
time.
it doesn't, and he just wants us to look like idiots.
You said you Googled it, right? Though, did he?
No, I
edit
didn't
the
Google
wiki-
it.
Oh, you just verified it in your head. You were
I
just like,
verified it via him, so it's kind of biased.
Guys, I wanted to talk some fantasy quarterbacks with you. I feel like we've talked a lot of other positions, but we haven't dove into the quarterback position very much. And first question, pretty easy one. Who are you guys targeting this year? Like whenever you go into a draft, there's always names I feel like where you're looking at a range where you like drafting quarterbacks, guys that you're super happy with leaving in the draft. Are there specific quarterbacks that you're targeting in your fantasy drafts this year?
Lamar Jackson. Yeah, Lamar Jackson's one of them. I was just trying to think through it. I would say I feel like Lamar Jackson is the type of player that he could be the QB1 on the year, and he could blow everybody else out of the water. And not a lot of QBs have that type of upside. I know people are concerned with his pass volume. I know people are concerned with his injuries. That's fine. You could be worried about that. Everybody,
good for you.
Good for you. Good for you. Go ahead. But I'm not too worried. And then the other one I would say is almost the exact opposite is Tom Brady.
Exact opposite is in you're not trying to draft him?
No, exact opposite is another guy that I would draft, but just the exact opposite of Lamar in the sense that, yeah, he's just like very, very safe, very secure. Doesn't have maybe the top 5 upside because he doesn't rush, but he certainly will be a value, I think, again this year.
I mean, last year he led the league in attempts, yards, and touchdowns, right? So
yeah, all three, the trifecta.
Pretty good categories for fantasy football there. For me, my strategy for quarterback has been pretty consistent, where I kind of hold off on the top guys unless they slide. So like if you're every once in a while, especially when you play with a lot of sharp gamers, they're just not taking quarterbacks. And in that situation, I'm willing to be the guy that goes, yeah, sure, I'll take Josh Allen in like 3rd or 4th if people aren't taking him, or I'll take no one's taking Justin Herbert. Like, Josh Allen goes and then no one takes quarterback forever. I'll take those guys every once. Like one guy I am targeting at ADP is Jalen Hurts. I think that with his rushing, he has a high floor. And now with the addition of AJ Brown, he's got a pretty good ceiling. If I don't get Jalen Hurts, then my general strategy is to wait and then try and get one of Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson, Trey Lance in that range. There's so many good quarterbacks this year that those guys are going like, 9, 10, 11 or so. So it's almost like I just wait until somebody takes one of them and then I take one of the other ones. It's not that hard to me from that standpoint.
Yeah. And Coop, something you said, like talking about when these top quarterbacks slide, you're willing to take them. I've done that in quite a few mocks and drafts this offseason. And every time, even whenever Josh Allen falls to like the 4th, 5th round, right? That's a value based on where he should be going in drafts. I take him and then I get to the end of the draft. I get to that 9th, 10th round and I look and Russell Wilson is there. Tom Brady is there. Aaron Rodgers is there. And I'm sitting there thinking like, man, I could have added a Deontay Johnson, a Darnell Mooney, and Ezekiel Elliott to my team with that pick and had Russell Wilson still. Or even we go tier down, Trey Lance, Justin Fields. Like, I just have a hard time this year. I have not been happy with my team whenever I draft one of those top tier quarterbacks, even whenever they slide a little bit, because like you said, there's so many good quarterbacks, especially in one quarterback leagues, that just fall. They just keep on falling because most teams aren't even drafting a backup guy. They're just not taking one.
Yeah. I love the Get in the Game says, I will take Carr late all day. So underrated. I love the Derek Carr pick, especially if you're going to wait and do like a 2 QB strategy where you take like Derek Carr and then you just go for crazy upside and take Justin Fields or Tua or Trevor Lawrence as your second quarterback. Because Derek Carr, like when you look at it, Vegas has him in the top 5 for over under yardage. They have him set to throw like 4,400 yards. Last year he threw 4,800, and now he has Devontae Adams. Not only that, but his schedule starts out awesome. Like I think the first game is versus the Chargers. The over-under is like 50-something points. Next game's versus the Cardinals. So if you are a big Justin Fields guy, you could wait hypothetically until everyone takes a quarterback and then double tap Carr and Fields, and you just start Carr early and see what happens with Fields. I mean, Fields and Lance play each other week 1, and the over-under for that game is like 40 points or something. Like, it's not supposed to be a shootout.
Wow.
So you can, I think it's like 42 last I checked. And the Chargers game is 52. It's literally 10 points higher that Vegas expects to be scored in that game. So I look at it and I say, I feel good about starting Derek Carr. And best case scenario, now you have a guy you can trade, or just drop one of them. But you can really, like Simon says, you can really patch together quarterback by waiting.
Yeah, and I just did something very similar to what you're talking about in the league, Coop. I waited on quarterback, waited, and I grabbed Tua Tagovailoa late, and then right when the turn came back around, I grabbed Justin Fields because Justin Fields, with that rushing upside, he could be a top-tier guy this year. So I took that shot. I'm a little bit more comfortable with Tua. I'm comfortable rolling him out, comfortable with the weapons he has, and that is a guy, whenever we're mentioning names of people we're targeting, Tua Tagovailoa is a guy that I'm targeting this year. He is one of the more accurate passers in the NFL. That offensive line should be a bit better. And then they added Tyreek Hill into that offense. Like, I'm expecting this offense to take steps forward. I like the new coaching staff there. And Tua, I think, is a good NFL quarterback. So going late, whenever we're talking about players that go late, Tua is one of them. And then if I can pair them with like a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance, someone that has that potential to blow up with the rushing upside, I like doing that. Justin Fields is another name that I'm targeting. I've been rising on him all off season. I know that Bears offense looks like a mess, but I think it can't get worse than last year, even with Allen Robinson leaving that offense. Like, I think a lot of the offensive woes were Matt Nagy related, not necessarily Justin Fields, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet related. Now, that being said, there's a ceiling they can get to with the players on the roster, but it's got to be better than last year, right? And I think Justin Fields has the talent that made him get drafted where he was drafted.
Yeah, for sure. And I absolutely love the Tua pick. And getting the game in the chat said, I just did the exact same thing with the Carr plus Fields 12-team draft.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's a nice combo.
You're smart getting the game because that's what I said.
They said Ryan Fitzpatrick comes back to replace Tua week 3. Sorry, Simon.
You know what? I would be mad if it was anybody else replacing Tua besides Ryan Fitzpatrick. If it was Ryan Fitzpatrick, I would just celebrate a little bit. I love that man. I was drafting him last year, like regularly as like a second quarterback, or if I waited in Superflex leagues as someone that could fill in. Didn't work out. Obviously, he got injured very early into the season, but that was my move. I would love Ryan Fitzpatrick coming back. Fantasy Nav said Fields plus a random safe guy has been my favorite move this year. We mentioned Fields a couple times. I talked about me liking him, but do you guys agree that this Bears offense takes a step forward this year? Or do you think it's going to be just as gross as we saw last year?
I think
it's got it for Fields to be better.
I think they're going to take a step. I don't think it's going to be a massive step. I think they need to incrementally just a little baby step. I think they need to incrementally improve. They still have a lot of holes on that team. And I don't think they have a lot of like just resources to work with, a lot of capital to work with to fill those holes. Don't say anything, Coop.
I'm not going to. So the what I'm thinking is it's going to look more like is like JL's right that like they're not a team that's going to win a ton of games. I mean, Vegas has them at like 5 wins, right? 5.5, some books. So it's not an ideal spot. They're clearly doing some sort of bridge year. What you're hoping for is that Luke Getsy comes in, and we talked about this on the show this week. He had his quarterback in college, last time he was calling the plays, 2018, run 221 times, which is absurd. So you're hoping the season you want out of Justin Fields is like a Jalen Hurts of yesteryear season where like he's just running so much that it doesn't even matter if he's real life good or, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter if he's throwing for a ton of yards because when you run 10 times and get 60 yards, that's a nice floor. I mean, it's 6 points in fantasy football. So if he's just running at least, 8-10 times a game, I don't even care if he's throwing the ball well.
Yeah. And Getting the Game wants to know, who do you guys think is the main guy receptions wise in Chicago? Is Darnell Mooney. Cole Kmet will be number 2 on that team, but Darnell Mooney, I believe, is the main receptions guy. He got 140 targets last season. I expect that volume to be similar this year. It can't really go up too much, right? Like we can't really expect 160 targets towards Darnell Mooney, but I think the
1,600 targets.
1,600 targets for Darnell Mooney. No, but I think 140, 150 towards Darnell Mooney, and then around 100 for Cole Kmet is probably what we're looking at for those two guys. Do you guys think Velus Jones could challenge for a top target spot on this team, or is it those two guys? He could.
That's my full analysis. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's likely, but the thing is with a tight end, You kind of got to be a Zach Ertz type to get like 130 targets, which, if Velus Jones is at least decent. And the thing about Velus Jones is he is an older prospect. So from one standpoint, there's a lot of models out there that say late breakout guys aren't good. And also that you lose some long-term age, but at the same time, you do sometimes see a little more polish from these guys. Like Mike Williams came out as an older prospect and, he was pretty good right away. So some of these guys, these older guys can be good right away. It's a dangerous game in Dynasty because if he isn't good right away, next year he's 26. Like this guy's older. He's pretty much the same age as Jerry Jeudy. Like it's pretty wild. Yeah, he's 25.
The same age as Jerry Jeudy. Like that's an insult. Just like you idiot. You're the same age as Jerry Jeudy. How dare you? They have the same exact birthday, like Randall Cobb and Adam Thielen.
No, God, I wish.
God, I wish.
But I mean, Judy's been in the league for 2 years, so it is kind of strange, right? It's like with the Vikings backfield where everybody besides Dalvin Cook is the same age, even though Alexander Madison's been in the league for like 4 years. He's 24 years old. So is Keenan Nwangu. So is Ty Chandler. I mean, that's just the way it goes sometimes.
That's just
need a little extra schooling.
Well, extra schooling.
Whenever you were talking, you mentioned that you'd be willing to draft one of these top quarterbacks early. So whenever you're looking at them, around what round? Like, what's the earliest you're willing to draft a quarterback in a 1 QB league?
I mean, the earliest so my philosophy on that is the same as tight end. So the earliest I'd be willing to draft either position is when every player that I think could be the best flex player in the league is gone. So I look at the top running backs and the top wide receivers, and I say to myself, can this guy be the top running back? Can this guy be the top wide receiver? Because typically those are the top scoring flex players in the league. And once that pool has been exhausted, then I'm willing to take either Travis Kelce or Josh Allen. But for me, that pool might be a little deeper than some other people. But that's kind of how I do it, is that I lean into the positional scarcity and at that point, but only after those top dogs are gone.
Jail, what about you? Are you on a similar page to Coop, or you maybe willing to go a little bit earlier?
No, I'm actually on the same page as Coop. I don't have much to add there.
I think I'm a little bit later, and it's just because of what I felt whenever I've drafted quarterbacks that early this year. For me, I'm probably looking at around the 7th round as the time whenever I'm willing to take one of those top guys. And it's really only going to be if Lamar Jackson falls to the 7th, I'll draft Lamar Jackson there. Otherwise, I'm waiting until like those double-digit rounds to grab a couple guys. Now, that being said, that's not how it is every year. Like the draft boards change, the way that the draft board falls changes. And this year, that's what it's looking like. I've enjoyed while mock drafting. That's when I've been happiest with my teams. But man, it's real tempting when you get in like the 4th, 5th round and a Josh Allen or a Justin Herbert has fallen to that point. It's like, God, I just like it makes you want to take them regardless of what you think your team's going to look like afterwards. I see Scott Fish in the chat coming in saying, I'm starting a new tight end only league, but you can't draft the team's current tight end one. So you can only draft non-tight end ones. Coop, who's your 101 in that league?
I would steamroll in that league. Now the question is it a redraft league or is it a redraft league? It's a redraft league. So in a redraft league, I think the guy that I would want is Jonnu Smith. I think he would be one of the earliest picks that I'd take. Because what I saw last year is Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry have complementary skill sets. Hunter Henry is very good versus man-to-man. He's good as like an inline blocker, but he's good versus man-to-man where they spread him out. And then when it's, zero coverage, he can beat his guy and get open. Jonnu Smith is a guy who's really good versus zone. He's really good in space. He can break off huge chunk plays. He was set to have huge games against certain teams, but he was injured in those games. Teams like the Chargers that run a cover 2 shell, Robert Saleh. If you go back and look at the second Jets game, they went to Jonnu Smith either via handoffs or targets 7 times over the first 2 drives, and then he hurt his shoulder. So I think Jonnu's actually in line to have some games. It's just we don't really know when it's going to happen. So he's more of a best ball play. But I bet you this year, Jonnu's going to have at some point a huge play against a zone team where he breaks off like a 60-yard chunk. And I bet at some point he's going to have a rushing touchdown too. So Jonnu's kind of a decent best ball play. And in that format where you have to go with a second tight end, that'd be my first pick. Now, anybody that jumps out to you guys, I heard you say Greg Dulcich.
Fantasy Nav in the chat saying Evan Ingram. I think he's trying to get banned, saying that he's not the top tight end on his team.
Get him out of my
censor that comment. We do not allow Evan Ingram slander in the chat or on the show.
Do it or you're fired, Keith.
Do it.
Yeah, Joe, you said some Dulcich, right?
Yes,
Greg?
but before I talk about Greg Dulcich, I did want to back Coop up here. Jonnu was the guy that I really loved. Right when he was on the Tennessee Titans, I thought that he was going to be a fantastic fantasy asset, and then he goes to the Patriots, and my heart is broken. So love that pick, Coop. But yeah, Dulcich to me is a guy that could be the number one. He could completely supplant Alberto. And so when we're talking backup tight ends, give me the young guy who's talented, who we might be able to prove something that we're not expecting yet.
I love that Keith is willing to remove those comments from the chat.
He has been censored.
It's gone.
Eat it,
gone.
Eric. Eat it, Eric.
Suck it, Eric.
This is our show, boy.
That's strike number. I think that's
Get
strike number
Keith a
2 for
promotion.
Eric.
Get Keith a promotion.
Keith, you're promoted.
Matt. Do some out.
Another name in there that just got thrown out. Andrew Elmquist said Noah Gray, but for Dynasty. What do you think about Noah Gray, guys?
I tell you, I'm actually on the Jody Fortson train. If you want to look for Travis Kelce's handcuff, Noah Gray, to me, Fortson beat out Noah Gray last year, but then he tore his Achilles. And then this offseason, he was operating ahead of Noah Gray. So to me, I'm a Joe Fortson guy. Noah Gray, anybody that's in line to potentially get that role is interesting to stash in Dynasty. But I like Fortson over there.
Good one.
Guys, I know we got sidetracked during our QB talk about tight ends. That's very on brand right
Yeah.
now. We were talking QBs, and now all of a sudden we're talking tight ends. Thanks a lot, Scott Fish and Eric Fantasy Nav for putting that in there. Oh, and we just got the note that Keith has been promoted by Better Boss in the chat, letting us know. Keith, congratulations. It's so unfortunate that you'll probably still get fired from a new better role.
Don't mess it up. We know you will.
Smash that fun button for Keith in the chat.
Yeah.
Chief Keith, baby.
Keith.
Dustin wants to know Dalton Smythe or Hunter Long. Which one of those guys would you prefer?
I think he meant Durham Smythe.
Yeah, that's probably
we're talking Dolphins depth chart. So the problem for both those guys right now, well, because this has got to be a dynasty question. They do want to use one inline tight end, which that's why Mike Gesicki has been kind of on the trade block, is that he doesn't fit that role. He was before they were using Durham Smythe inline and Gesicki in the slot. People don't realize that Gesicki played like just over 800 snaps. Durham Smythe played 700. He was the tight end on that team, and Mike Gesicki was the slot receiver, right? The big slot boy. So
Big slap boy.
The thing is, Durham Smythe, I've just never been impressed with his profile, his route running ability, really any of that. So I would just take the unknown in Hunter Long, especially because he went to Boston College, and we don't have many football players up here. So you got to rep them when you have the chance.
He could be anything, even Durham Smythe.
He could be. He could be anything. He could be Anthony Ferkser, who went to Harvard, or Cameron Braid, who also went to Harvard. So we got a couple of tight ends from up here. Don't worry about us. We'll be fine.
Don't worry.
We got Ryan Fitzpatrick.
We got Ryan Fitzpatrick, dude. Matt Ryan went to BC. Luke Kuechly. So that's pretty much everyone from Massachusetts that's ever played football. So give me, and they're not even from here. They just went, hey, they had to go here because of scholarships or something. But give me Hunter Long. He's an unknown. I'll take the unknown upside over the known meh of Durham Smith.
Guys, we're going to be talking a little bit more quarterbacks in a moment. Maybe some guys that we don't like. We've been talking guys that we do love. We want to hit some guys that we don't like. And then Calvin Watkins of the Cowboys is going to be joining us, reporting on the Cowboys. And we've got a game of fact or flash coming up. We're going to be talking about players that flashed last year, and we need to determine whether it's a fact they're going to keep on doing that, or was it just a flash in the pan. And then Coach Grant Caraway, wide receivers and quarterback coach, is joining the show to break down our routes a little bit later today as well. And make sure you're staying around. We have not yet given away our jersey. We're going to be giving away an NFL signed jersey today. So make sure you're staying around for that. Get your finger ready on that call in button. And we're going to be talking some more quarterbacks shortly.
Sports talk done better.
Coop, we did have a question for you. Get into Game wants to ask if you could create an all tight end team. Like, who would be your top tight ends, like your favorite guys that you would put on your all tight end team?
Or does he want me to do an all tight end team where I fill out all the positions? Because I could do that.
That could
too.
work as well. Yeah, you want to do that?
So a wide receiver one, split end would be Kyle Pitts.
Checks out. I knew you were going to say Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. Now on the other side, I would have Jimmy Graham.
Okay.
At the actual tight end slot, inline tight end, I'd have Rob Gronkowski.
Okay.
In the slot, I would have Tony Gonzalez, who under Chan Gailey for the Chiefs back in mid 2010s, he led the league in routes run from the slot. Now at quarterback, I would have Logan Thomas, a converted quarterback that now plays tight end. Right at running back, give me Jonnu Smith, a guy that has multiple rushing touchdowns. He could bring it up and down the field. At left tackle, give me Michael Pruitt, one of the premier blocking tight ends in the league. At right tackle, give me Nick Boyle.
Are you done this all off the top of your head?
Of course. At guard,
so impressed.
like we got to fill out the line with the best blocking tight ends that I can think of. So actually at center, give me a guy that's been a captain on a team because you need a strong, smart player at center. Give me
leadership.
Mercedes Lewis, a guy that's been in the league for a long time, one of the premier blockers. At guard, you're gonna want a little speed, a little heft. So I'll take a current guy, Albert Akwe-Bunam. I'll put him 6'6", 260. Put him at left guard. Have him do some swing routes. Have him run around. At right guard, I'll take. Give me Jason Witten. Just give me a big monster to throw in.
Get him out of the booth.
Throw down the run blocking. And
can we put this in like a graphic?
As my fullback, move tight end, I'm going to go with a guy that's played a bunch of fullback. He's played a bunch of move tight end. Very underrated. Give me Chris Cooley, former Redskins tight end, move tight end, Chris Cooley. So that would be my all-time tight end offense. If you need
now radio personality.
I am
in the DMV.
I am so impressed. Not just like you didn't just pull out those names and you didn't stop after the positional guys. You said we're talking O-line here too because that's an important part of the offense. Coop, I could not put together a better all tight end team right now.
Now put a full depth chart together.
You'd be insane to do it.
Punter.
I feel like a maniac just having done that. But
who's the punter and who's kicking field goals?
Punter easily is going to be Algie Crumpler because right off the top
best
of my
name
head,
I've ever heard.
Kind of sounds like punter. Seems like he could boot the ball.
Crumpler the punter.
Crumpler punter. And then for kicker, we just want to have as many all-time greats on the roster. So give me Antonio Gates.
Better Sports Network. It's sports talk done better.
We are back, everyone, here on the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show on the Better Sports Network. And when we left off, we were talking some quarterbacks and tight ends. As always, tight ends got thrown in there as well, but we were talking QBs. We talked a lot of QBs that we liked, but I wanted to know if there were any QBs that you guys didn't like this year that you're avoiding in drafts. JL, do you want to just get it out of the way? We know what you're going to say.
MFing Cousins.
And Scott Fish has left the chat.
He's out. That's why we're 10th best morning show on this network to Scott Fish, is because of all the Kirk Cousins slander that we're usually throwing around.
10th best, but Brad Bolt said we were top 2 nighttime show in Australia.
No, guys, top 2. That's impressive.
That's the big leagues right there. But JL, are you actually out on Kirk Cousins this year? Is that a guy that you're avoiding drafting?
No. Absolutely not. It is a bit. I'm not drafting him. I'm overdrafting Kirk Cousins.
You've been saying that for 5 days, and now you're going to admit it's a bit, dude. Like,
I got to give the people the right advice. All right. I don't need everybody like me fading Kirk Cousins, right? As he's about to go into this, nice season where they're going to be passing so much. Justin Jefferson's going to be fantastic. And then everybody's going to come to me and be like, JL, what the hell, man? You were just dragging Kirk Cousins. Oh,
no, this was a personal take, not a fantasy take.
Exactly. I just don't like you as a person, Kirk. All right. Is that fair to say? Probably
I
not.
desperately want to see like a Kirk Cousins versus JL show where you just like tell him how you feel about him and see what he has to say back. It would be so disrespectful.
I want like a Between Two Ferns interview, like me and Kirk Cousins.
I'd take a back seat for that. Just watch. I want a full hour length between the Fern segment between you and Kirk Cousins.
Keith, make it happen.
Make it happen. I feel like Kirk Cousins would not be even fun to do that with because the whole time he just wouldn't be laughing.
And Tim said, I don't know about y'all, but it sounds like I shouldn't ever draft Kirk Cousins in any format ever.
Tim, I think that's what JL's been saying.
100%. Yeah. I'm fine with that. That's usually my go-to strategy anyway, but I will draft him if it makes sense for my fantasy team. Listen, you got to put your differences aside for your fantasy team. You can't let your personal feuds and hatred for a certain, player out of minute affect your fantasy team.
And
So-
JL, you know what? I've seen you do it. I've never seen someone talk more crap about Cole Beasley and then draft
And then
more
draft
Cole
the absolute
Beasley.
hell out of Cole
Like
Beasley.
you talked so much crap about Cole
true.
Beasley, and
And
then
it was-
every draft last year you drafted him.
And
Every
it was a
single one.
good decision, wasn't it? Cole
It
Beasley.
was.
Cole Beasley returned a lot of value in the beginning of the season, and as soon as he stopped returning value, boom, he's gone out of here. No love lost. It was what have you done for me lately type of transaction.
So Matt in the chat, Better Boss says, avoid Trey Lance, can't throw the ball, and will be replaced by winning Jimmy G. I mean, Jimmy G is a winner. He went to the playoffs. I actually had a tweet earlier this year that got quite a few responses and quite a few quote tweets.
Nice brag.
And they weren't a lot of people saying, well, let me say, JL, they weren't a lot of people saying nice tweet. It was a lot of people getting really worked up over this tweet because I said, those of you drafting Trey Lance, what QB are you drafting to start for your fantasy team? And the reason I said that is I'm a big proponent of waiting and drafting 2 quarterbacks. Trey Lance is arguably and easily one of the riskiest picks you can make. Like, this dude has not played football he's not played a lot of football at any level. Like, he only had like 400 attempts in college and it wasn't even at the highest level of college football. So for me, when I draft Trey Lance, I do want to make sure I have some sort of backup option, whether it's Derek Carr or Kirk Cousins. And if I had a roster with Trey Lance and Derek Carr, I'd be starting Derek Carr for all those reasons I talked about earlier. So Trey Lance is a guy I do find myself taking when I'm looking for upside, but he does scare me a bit. The other one that I'm not really drafting a ton of is, 2 of them really that fit the. I can describe
Tua?
both.
No, I love Tua.
Please stop. The Simon, no.
Sorry.
The other ones are, I can describe them both at the same time, which is a really good quarterback that doesn't have as good of weapons as he used to. Which 2 guys am I talking about here?
Aaron Rodgers
And
Aaron Rodgers and
Aaron
that's it.
Rodgers.
And you mentioned Tua. Tua has one of this guy's
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes. A couple guys
I didn't
that
even consider him.
don't quite have the weapons that they used to have. And there's a real possibility that those players are just really good. And these quarterbacks are really good. But, Tom Brady threw 50 touchdowns because he had Randy Moss catching 23 of them. So there's a real possibility that without those elite assets, the ceiling for these players is no longer the ceiling that it used to be. So just something to keep in mind when it comes to those guys. Nobody is perfect and nobody is teammate proof.
Yeah, really good point.
No, I like that one. The Patrick Mahomes one is hard though, right? Because that name has just been so associated with like the best quarterback in the league for the past couple seasons, right? Like that's how people have talked about Patrick Mahomes. People talking about like, if he retired today, would he be a Hall of Famer? You know what I mean? Like that was a popular question this offseason for Patrick Mahomes. So it's hard to maybe make that adjustment in fantasy, but you're right. Tyreek Hill left. There's a very real chance that offense is not what it used to be. And for me, one guy that I'm avoiding recently is Matthew Stafford. And it's just because of the concerns around his shoulder, right? The injury concerns that came out. Looks like a pitching injury is what they said, or like something that pitchers usually get. Could be totally fine, but in that range, he's going around Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, Trey Lance, Dak Prescott. Like, because there are those concerns about his arm, I'm just going to take one of those other guys instead right now. I liked Matthew Stafford early in the offseason, but I just don't want to take that risk whenever there's guys going in the same range that I think are comparable. Are you guys worried about Stafford's injury?
I think his ADP has gone down to account for that. And so I'm a little less worried. The upside is, we're all projecting Cooper Kupp to be a fantastic wide receiver this year. Maybe not do quite what he did last year, but still have really good production. I'm drafting him as a top 3 wide receiver in redraft. So if Matthew Stafford isn't going to be great, can we necessarily be confident that Cooper Kupp's going to be great?
Yeah, that is rough there. And again, we talked about it yesterday. If they get a lead and they have a guy with a sore elbow that continues to get sore the more he throws, you could see Stafford not playing some fourth quarters. So I'm with you. Stafford a little bit spooky.
A little bit of name game. Coop, you said one guy you were avoiding was Aaron Rodgers. Would you take Matthew Stafford or Aaron Rodgers?
I would take Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers?
Just good. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have an injured elbow.
Joe, what
that
about
we
you?
know
Aaron
of.
Rodgers or Matthew Stafford?
I'll go Aaron Rodgers as well.
Aaron Rodgers. I see Scott Fish in the chat saying he played with that shoulder injury last year, week 11, on an average 278 yards and 2.4 touchdowns per game. He also had a back injury paired with it.
Is that good, Scott Fish?
I mean, the 2.4 touchdowns you're happy with, right? You get a couple 3-touchdown games, a couple 2-touchdown games. We have the 278 isn't necessarily what you're looking for is like a superstar performance.
Averaging
right?
278 is good though, because that means you got 300-yard bangers in there for sure. So
you're right. I applied the
I was
logic.
kind of being a little tongue in cheek there. 278 and 2.4 touchdowns is good. That's better than what Josh Allen averaged passing last year.
No, I only applied the logic to the touchdowns, just completely skipped over applying it to the yards right there.
Yeah,
You got to selectively apply logic. That way it fits whatever narrative you're trying to say, right?
Yep.
Smart.
Yeah, just use
smart.
statistics in your favor. Don't use statistics that don't tell the story. And that way you're always proved right by numbers. It's the best
out for you.
Science.
Yep.
And I like Scott Fish's comment he said earlier where he said, I actually can't do it. I play for fun. And if I don't like players, I just draft other players, which is a very interesting concept. One guy that I can obviously apply that to personally is Deshaun Watson. Like, I just don't want to draft him. I don't want to root for him. And it's easy enough now that he's going to miss most of the season. But are there any guys like Simon, are there any guys that you either because of the way they play or, maybe some off-field stuff, or you don't like the team they play for? Are there any guys that you find it easy just to skip over? Because, I mean, like Scott kind of implies, in a 12-team league, you can't draft everybody. You can only draft 1/12 of the players. So it's not that hard to skip over guys, right?
Yeah.
This is something I've tried to correct, right? Like, this is something I've been working on correcting. And so I'm not sure so much that there are players anymore that I just skip over because I don't like them. But there was one guy for a long time that I missed out on his fantasy production, and that is Chris Godwin. And it's because I was so high on Mike Evans. I was so invested in Mike Evans being the guy that I discounted what I viewed as the wide receiver 2 on this team. I was like, Mike Evans is the guy. Why am I drafting the wide receiver 2 whenever they're going in the same range? I'm going to take Mike Evans. Now they're not going in the same range. They're going at different spots. And Chris Godwin and Mike Evans can be productive. So that was a guy for a while that I didn't draft. But now I'm trying to overcome that. I kind of like this question on the opposite side. I draft players that I like a little bit higher because fantasy football is fun, right? So I will go ahead and I'll take a Mike Williams or some of these guys that I really like as players a little bit earlier. Then maybe they should go. Guys, we've got our guest Calvin Watkins about to join us on the show. We're going to be talking some Cowboys. He's going to be up here in a second with us. Excuse me right there. Calvin Watkins covers the Dallas Cowboys over at Dallas Morning News and with Sports Day Cowboys. Calvin, thank you so much for joining us today, my man.
Yes. Appreciate you guys. What's going on? Why you guys up so early? Golly.
I've been asking myself that all week,
thing.
Calvin.
We've been partying all night, bro. We haven't slept
we
yet.
didn't stop.
We just get after it, bro.
24/7. Gotta grind.
Smash that fun button in the chat for Calvin. Let's go,
Calvin.
Bro, wake him up. Wake his ass up with some fun buttons, baby. Let's
Give him
go.
coffee. Give him a little fun.
Yeah, a little fun in the coffee, right? What's up, dude? How we doing today?
I'm good. That's good. Sometimes I do get up early, but it's okay.
That's usually how I am. It's like that's how I would describe it. It's like sometimes I get up early. It's like once a year.
It's when I have to, if I have a flight.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I talk about flights. Good God. Yeah. You gotta get there like 3 hours ahead of time, and there's a line at like 6 a.m.
Yeah, exactly.
I grew up by the Atlanta airport, so I'm just like airport scarred. I always show up like 2-3 hours early, even if the airport's got like 2 gates. Like I'm there 3 hours early and then just sitting there at the one Chili's in the airport waiting at 7 a.m. eating chili cheese fries way earlier than any human should.
What is it with that airport? What is it with that airport though? Like, does every plane, are they contractually obligated to stop there? Like, I'll be flying from Boston to New York and they'll be like, we're going to stop at Atlanta quick just to like, it's like, why does every plane go through either Atlanta or Houston? I feel.
I have no idea.
Calvin, I know you're excited about airport talk, but I wanted to talk a little bit of Cowboys as well with you today. Calvin, you've got a new book coming out next Tuesday, September 6th, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh.
On the Clock, Dallas Cowboys behind the scenes at the NFL draft. You want to tell us a little bit about what we can expect from that book? The title alone's got me excited. Sounds like a cool inside scoop.
Yeah, it's really 10 stories that some people probably remember, maybe they don't, about why the Cowboys drafted certain people. So like I went back and we talked to people about why didn't they draft Johnny Manziel? And then we did another story on Micah Parsons and how all that transpired. Because remember, the Cowboys were thinking about drafting a cornerback, and then they ended up getting Micah Parsons.
Right.
You know, then we went back in the day, like, why did they draft Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin, the triplets? And then we went back to Ed Too Tall Jones and how the hell did they find a 7-foot defensive end or whatever? So it was like 10 of the best stories of the draft. You know, we also talked about the year Bill Parcells was more worried about getting Marcus Spears in comparison to DeMarcus Ware. So these are stories that you might remember and just refresh your memory, or you never knew the inside scoop on Randy Moss and why they didn't draft him and how come the Cowboys had a guy stationed in West Virginia with Randy Moss the night of the draft, and they had like a Randy Moss jersey with them, and they think they were going to get him, and instead they got Greg Ellis, you know, and then Greg Ellis was thinking, you know, I'm not going to get drafted in the NFL, and then he's the first-round pick. So we have little stories like that and why the Cowboys are who they are in a sense.
I love that stuff because you don't usually it's so hard to get that information out because they're never going to tell you before the draft. And then once the draft happens, they have no obligation to go back and tell you why. Right.
Right.
So
Well, the Cowboys can't hold water. Like Jerry Jones, he'll tell it all. So,
so it's
like
nice,
Jerry had the you know how you have the draft board?
Yeah.
But Jerry brought it with him to a press conference, you know, because he just had it in his hand. So they, you know, they make their first round pick, and Jerry's just carrying it with him to the press conference, and he's got it sitting there and he's talking. And he says, "You guys want to see the draft board?" And Steven's like, "Put that down." You know, so it's just like
that's amazing because you got to trade for those guys too, you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
I appreciate that as a Patriots fan because he gets on with this podium and you're like, "Hey, Bill, what's your favorite juice?" And he's like, "We're on to water." Next question. Like, we can't get nothing out of that dude, man.
So
like,
how
unless
would
you
you
ask him like some long snapper from rugby, and then you get like 20 minutes.
Yeah, and then that's his sweet spot, his favorite topic. Calvin, I'm curious, like, if you were to describe the Cowboys' philosophy in terms of drafting, in terms of personnel management, like, how would you describe that?
They're in this mode of draft and develop. You know, like you look at the Rams, and they're saying, "Forget the draft picks. We're getting ball players." You know, and we're going to pay them, and we're going to go all in. Cowboys' philosophy is, let's look at the defensive backs. The defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, he likes tall defensive backs. So the Cowboys will say, well, let's get guys who are 6'3", 6'4", long wingspans, and let's draft those guys. So make them undrafted free agents. Or they'll say, what kind of defensive ends do you want? Dan Quinn wants tall, big defensive ends because that's what he face on Sundays, big left tackles and right tackles. So you try to figure out what the coaches want in terms of a body type. And then you find that, then the next step is, can they play? You know, because not every 6'5", 210-pound guy can play football. So that's the next step. And then you find out about their demeanor and all those kinds of things and make sure they're not, you know, trying to rob banks when they're not playing football. And then you go from there. So it's not a secret sauce. Everyone's got the same philosophy. It's just a matter of finding the right talent. It's a lot of times it's luck, to be honest with you. I mean, you guys follow sports. You see a guy who you believe is a first-round pick, like Josh Rosen. I thought he was going to be fantastic coming out of UCLA.
So did he.
He's with 4 teams. Yeah, he's with 4 teams by now. Yeah. So,
I'll never forget his draft. I will never forget him sitting there throwing shade at all the other teams who made mistake before not picking him.
Mm-hmm. He was in Arizona 1 year, I think.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, but you never know. It's luck. Like the Cowboys lucked in and got Micah Parsons last year. That was luck because they didn't think Denver was going to get a corner or Carolina. And those 2 teams drafted in front of them. They got corners. And then here's this kid from Penn State that falls right in their lap. It's just it's the luck sometimes about how you draft people.
All right, I got a question with this. So we've heard this a million times from a million camps, right? Team has 2 good running backs, and they say, we're going to start using this guy in the slot. Right. And everybody in fantasy football world gets so excited, right? Kareem Hunt's going to play the slot this year, boys. And then he plays 15 snaps in the slot. So is there with the smoke surrounding Tony Pollard and them saying, you know, Jerry loves Zeke, and he comes out and says the offense starts and ends with Zeke. Is there any truth or any smoke, or do you think that Tony Pollard is going to have an expanded role that doesn't take away from Zeke, or you think the role, if it is expanded, might take away from Zeke? I mean, what's your read on the Tony Pollard situation?
I'll see it when I believe it.
Yeah,
we've been talking about this for like 2 years now. And yes, we did see Tony Pollard line up in the slot during training camp practices. Yes, we saw him catch passes out of the backfield, lined up next to Zeke Elliott. We saw all that. But once we get to Tampa Bay in week 1, we'll find out what's really going to happen. I think Jerry has to say Zeke Elliott is still his number one guy because the man paid him the highest contract for a running back. So he's got it. So he's got to say that, or we're going to say, well, you're wasting your time here. But Tony Pollard, he's going to have an impact on the offense. He has to. The Cowboys are not as strong in the receiving core behind CeeDee Lamb. So you got to make sure Dalton Schultz gets his touches. You got to make sure Tony Pollard can do something here. But yeah, Pollard's going to get more, but how much more is hard to say because as Jerry said, we got to take care of Zeke Elliott, and that offensive line is not as strong as it once was.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned that CeeDee Lamb, and then it's kind of empty, or who that wide receiver 2 is not clear, maybe is the right way to say it, not empty, but for you, who is going to be, who's the most likely to be that wide receiver 2 role in that Dallas offense?
Well, as of today, if the season started right now, your number 2 guy would be Noah Brown. He's been around like 100 years, but the problem with Noah Brown is he's your punt protector. So I've never seen a number 2 receiver is also the punt protector. So that's your number 2 guy. They got Jalen Tolbert, who they drafted in the 3rd round. He had an uneven preseason. Dennis Houston's an undrafted guy. They kind of like him a little bit. Dak really likes Houston. And then they got this kid that he was the USFL MVP, Kevontae Turpin, but he's going to play maybe 10 to 15 snaps a game, and he's mainly their punt kickoff return guy. So that's who you got at wideout until Michael Gallup comes back in probably week 2 or 3. James Washington's got a broken toe, so you won't see him until late October. And even when Gallup does return from the ACL surgery, you're not sure how good he's going to be at the beginning. Yeah. So you say you get him for week 2 against the Bengals, and he's running around out there, and he looks pretty good. But you don't know what you're going to get because he just got the surgery back in January.
Right.
So it's a lot of uncertainty at the wideout position. But right now, it's CeeDee Lamb with a bunch of kids. But one of the things that I did like from listening to CeeDee yesterday, we were talking to him about this. He said, I'm not just the X receiver. So that means I'm not just a split end. I'm going to play the slot. I'm going to play the flanker position. I'm going to be in motion. I'm going to move all over the field because, as you guys know, when you're the number 1 receiver, defense is trying to take you out. So the Cowboys are saying, well, we're going to counter that already from the jump and put them in different spots in the line of scrimmage. So we'll see if that works.
And we've seen Noah Brown step in and play split end for when Amari's out. So, I mean, he can get out there and do that. And I got to say, Calvin, bro, I've been doing fantasy shows all off season. I've been doing crazy deep dynasty drafts. I've been doing, best ball drafts with like 18 teams. You are the first person to drop a Kevontae Turpin on any of these shows I've been on. Hey, cheers to Keith for getting Calvin on, dude.
Yeah,
the insight's coming. We're getting some inside info here. Kevontae Turpin, man. I'm gonna check him out, man. I got some pretty deep dynasty league. Yeah, I'm gonna sneak him onto a taxi squad. Just specifically so if he does anything at all, I could victory lap. Yeah, Calvin Watkins came
shout
on the
out
show,
Calvin.
told me to add Kevontae.
Yeah, remember he had 2 touchdowns. He had a kickoff return for a touchdown and a punt return for a touchdown in the preseason in the same game. I think it was against the Chargers.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah.
I was just talking about how that's kind of how these breakout guys when they start. Like, go back and look at a lot of them. You mentioned Randy Moss. Remember when he was a rookie, he just started running back punts, and they were like, "All right, this guy, like, no more punts for this guy, right?" And like Des Bryant ran a punt back his rookie year. Alvin Kamara, David Johnson, like these guys, the first thing they do is, they get the ball and they make something happen, and then the next thing you say, "Okay, this guy's too good to be doing this." So I mean, I like to see it. 2 punts this preseason. Kevontae Turpin.
It's like a rite of passage to becoming an elite breakout player. First, you just got to run a couple punts back. Like, you got to get it out of your system, man. And Calvin, what you're saying right there, all this wide receiver talk, I know we're talking like, oh, I'm going to look into these other guys. What it did for me is I've already been high on CeeDee Lamb going into the season. Like, he's my dude. I loved him whenever he came out of college. And there's been like some nerves that maybe he can't handle this like wide receiver one role whenever all the attention's on him in Dallas. But I'm buying in, man, if he's going to be playing all over the field. You're confident that he can handle that wide receiver one coverage, that he's going to be able to step into that role smoothly?
Yeah, I pretty am confident. They really have no choice because, as I said, the other kids are kind of unsettled or unknown or whatever. But, yeah, I'm confident in CD. He's got, just talking to him, he's got this relaxed attitude, and he's like, man, this is good. I'm born for this. I'm ready for this. So I think he'll be fine. And plus, he's got really good chemistry with Dak Prescott. That's the other key. You got to have a quarterback that believes in you, and Dak definitely believes in CD.
That's awesome. That's good to hear because I have a ton of CD on my rosters. Anytime I get in the second round and he's still there, I'm grabbing him in fantasy football because this team's been top 5 in pass attempts 2 years in a row. They were second and then fifth. And like you said, the offensive line might not be what it was. They're going to have to throw. So CD's he's going to have a lot on his shoulders this year, more than he's ever had.
Are you worried at all about the offensive line with the injuries?
Yeah, I am worried. They're going to have a rookie left tackle. I was just looking up to see the last time they started a rookie left tackle in week 1. Their center, Tyler Biadasz, he's what he is. They're really gonna have they're gonna have 2 new starters on the offensive line. They're gonna have a left tackle as a rookie, Tyler Smith. He came out of Tulsa. Connor McGovern's gonna be the left guard, and he's not a rookie. This is, I think, his 3rd or 4th year. And obviously Terrence Steele's on the right side with Zach Martin's a Hall of Famer. So the offensive line, and let's be honest, you can't have 5 all pros. That's unrealistic.
Yeah.
But over the years, the Cowboys have had some really good offensive lines. But right now, I would say this is the most unsettled offensive line they've had in a long time because Tyron Smith, we won't see him until probably the playoffs if they get there.
If I'm defensive coordinator, I'm just putting 3 dudes in the B gap over Zach Martin. Right? Just stack it up.
Stack it up.
It's like, you take away team's number 1 wide receiver. That's what I would do. I'd just be like, not here. You're not beating us through this gap, So
Calvin, what are you expecting for the Cowboys this season? We've talked some of the concerns. Amari Rodgers is gone. This team looks a little bit different than maybe it has in years past, but it's still got a lot of the pieces that made it one of the highest powered offenses in the league last year. And that defense was probably the most fun to watch in the league last year with Diggs flying around, right? What are your expectations for them? Is this a playoff team? Are they making a run this year?
Well, I got them winning 9 games, and they'll probably get to a wild card, and that's it for them. But I do like their defense. I mean, Micah Parsons is he's the lion. I mean, he's just this amazing, weapon to use on the field. And Trayvon Diggs had a great year. I don't know if he'll get 11 interceptions again. That's kind of hard.
Preposterous.
Yeah. But the funny thing about Diggs, which is what I like, is that teams keep going after Diggs. Even doing the stretch where he was, picking off passes last year, the start of the year. Teams will continue to go after him because he likes to take chances and he falls for the double moves and all those kinds of things. And he had a stretch where he was getting torched in training camp and then he deleted his social media. And I was like, oh my God, dude, what is wrong with you? So, but the defense, I think, is the strength of this team. When you talk about Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, they got Anthony Barr in free agency. That's going to be a plus for them. Dante Fowler, I think he's had a good camp. So we'll see if he can live up to the hype. Remember, I think he was like the 3rd pick of the draft 100 years ago. So we'll see what he can do.
Jaguars, right?
Offensively, yeah, Jacksonville, right. I think offensively, that's where the problems are. We've talked about with the receiving core and the offensive line. So it's going to be on Dak. This is why you're paying him to kind of elevate guys. So we'll see. But I don't think the roster is not as good as it was last year. They got a lot of young kids on the team. I think they're going to have like 12 rookies on the 53-man roster. So it's going to be some growing pains. In week 1, they got Tampa, and Tampa's got their own issues with their own offensive line. I think they're going to have 3 new starters on the O-line, but their defense is pretty good. And then they got Cincy in week 2. So I don't know if Cincy is going to fall back to earth or if Cincinnati is ascending. So those first 2 games, even though they're at home, are going to be big for Dallas.
Big lessons, yeah. And Trayvon, you mentioned Trayvon Diggs. Like, he reminds me a lot of Asante Samuel when he was with the Patriots, where it's like, it would either when it was bad, it was a touchdown for the other team, but when it was good, it was a touchdown for your team. And I mean, a pick six, I don't think there's any play that shifts the scales more than the pick six. Like I saw some odds that like if your team scores a pick, if your team has a interception for a touchdown, the odds of you winning the game shoots up to like 70% or above.
Yeah, there's
a guy like
momentum.
That, yeah, the momentum shift of a turnover for a touchdown just moves those scales so hard. So a guy like that, man, and also Parsons, who can play. I feel like he can play any position on defense, like the entire.
Fantastic, yeah.
Right? Like, so,
I mean,
it's an exciting defense. They're gonna have to step up big, obviously.
Parsons, just to shout him out a little bit, he's transcending even fan bases right here. I see Skeeter in the chat saying, Eagles fan, I hate the Cowboys, but I'm a huge Penn State fan, and I can't help but root for Micah Parsons. Did you ever think you'd hear an Eagles fan in here saying they're rooting for a Cowboys player? That seems a little we won't tell the rest of the Eagles fan base because he might get kicked out for that one, I think.
I love the Eagles fan base, but hey, did Penn State win that game last night? Because I was at this bar and the game was on and I left and they were playing Purdue. Did they win that game?
You guys are college football guys.
I went to bed after the West Virginia Pitt game. I didn't see the score, but it looks like Penn State did win that game 35-31 over the Purdue Boilermakers. So Penn State pulled out the W.
College football's back, baby.
So Parsons is happy. He's a happy guy this morning.
He's a happy guy, so you can expect some good day at camp.
Good times.
Calvin, I wanted to thank you so much for making the time to join us this morning. Everybody watching, if you want that behind-the-scenes look in the Dallas Cowboys draft room, make sure you pre-order Calvin's book. It's available for pre-order now. It's coming out next Tuesday, September 6th. On the clock, Dallas Cowboys, behind the scenes with the Dallas Cowboys at the NFL draft.
He literally just proved to us how much he knows about the Cowboys. So you'd be an idiot not to go buy that book right now.
Javonte Turpin. I want to know, the behind the scenes on Javonte Turpin, baby.
Who's showing up in a Turpin jersey tomorrow?
For
real, I'm rooting hard for this guy to be fantasy relevant now, just so we can drop a clip of this dude. That is,
we got the inside scoop.
And that's one where it's like, if he doesn't do anything, then it's like who cares? Because he's deep on the depth chart. It's a beautiful one. Yeah. So
maybe he's a good 5th round pick for you. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah,
maybe that's what it is. Calvin, thank you so much, my man. Appreciate you coming on, and best of luck to the Cowboys this season. And I'll be I'm excited for that book coming out. Appreciate it. Have a good one, man.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks. See you down the line.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Down the line.
Dude, good dude.
Man, that was awesome.
What a dude.
What a good dude. And the Turpin call, man, I'm drafting him in at least one league this year, right? Just to say I got him, and then if it does work out, we got the inside scoop from Calvin to get some Turpin on there. Guys, coming up, we've got Coach Grant Caraway coming on the show with us to talk some wide receiver and quarterbacks. He's going to be breaking down some of our routes, and then we'll talk what he looks for in NFL wide receivers. We're going to be playing some fact or flash, where we're going over players that flashed last year, and then we hinted at it a little bit here, but we might be talking a little bit about that West Virginia Pitt game, and then just rivalries in general, some of our favorite rivalry moments. And as always, guys, we are giving away an NFL signed jersey today and every day. So make sure you stay tuned for that. You got to have the Better Sports Network app downloaded though. So go ahead and download that right now, register so that you are ready to hit that call in button and win that jersey very shortly coming up, guys.
Fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time, only on Better Sports Network.
Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers agreed to a restructured one-year contract that will keep him in San Francisco this season. The contract contains no trade and no tag clauses, assuring Garoppolo will remain in San Francisco this season with the freedom to leave next year. Well, apparently Lynch did not want him to go to Seattle. He didn't want to.
That they played in week 2, but I figured they'll cut him because they got to do something. But they restructured the contract, so that makes it affordable. But now he's in the shadows.
Like that is exact. We talk Tom Brady conspiracy theories. Let's get wild here. Are they sold on Trey Lance? This is the weirdest situation. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's in the building. He's working out by himself. He's in like solitary confinement in their facility. And now all of a sudden, hey, welcome back, Jimmy. You're our backup quarterback until Trey Lance throws 3 picks in a game.
No, it's so crazy, right? Because you cannot tell me that they do not realize they made a mistake. And I know everybody in the chat is like, oh, here we go again. But they made a mistake when they had the 3rd pick in the draft last year. they should have took Mac Jones. Mac Jones was clearly the guy. He'd have been phenomenal in this Shanahan offense. They took Trey Lance, and now you're like, we can't play this guy. Put it like this, Joe. Last year, one of the 49ers' issues was short yardage. They couldn't even get Lance on the field for a short yardage package. I don't think they really are that comfortable with him, and I know it's guys in that locker room that prefer Jimmy G over Trey Lance.
I'm sure there is. And, I think Lance, though, might be one of those guys that you need to see him in game action.
Okay.
And then you're like, oh, okay. I see it now. And by the way, the right move for the 49ers is to give Trey Lance the gig and see what he does with it. But let's talk from a fantasy perspective. Now, I'm not sure this moves I have Lance in my top 10, by the way. I'm not sure this moves my rankings a whole lot because in a typical one quarterback league, and this is critical, one quarterback, I think you can take the hit on Lance, and if he stinks or gets bent, you can replace him. You can go get Ryan Tannehill off the waiver wire. You're going to go be able to get competent quarterback play. As a matter of fact, I did a salary cap auction draft last night, and I took both Lance and Fields because I'm like, I got two flips of the coin here, right? But there's a 75% chance that comes up heads at least once. That's the way I looked at it. But I got to tell you, man, this does make it less likely that Lance hits this year. I don't know, man. But here is the funny part. Garoppolo would probably make me feel better about Debo and Ayuk and Kittle just because I know he's going to distribute the ball.
If it gets out of whack, you can put Jimmy G in, and no matter what you say about him, son wins football games. You know what I mean?
Better Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better. Make bets and
We are back with the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network, guys. And all those songs that they play over those clips during the breaks, like every single one of them just like gets me grooving in a different way. The one with Nando and Corey talking about Comic-Con, like just like it's like a very playful, like you're walking through a toy store when you're 7 years old and there's Legos everywhere and there's like stuffed animals over here and you're just like it just gets like I can't help but bop to it.
That one's burned in my brain, dude. The whatever that is though, but you described it exactly like in Home Alone when he's in like in the toy store in New York. Like that's the vibe I get from that do right? Like whatever that song is that plays. I love that one.
Guys, I saw Mr. Scampers in the chat. What's up, Mr. Scampers?
Damn.
Welcome in. Glad to have you here this morning. Our favorite chat cat, making his way over here.
Speaking of Nando, I meant to tell you guys, I popped into their show. Nando and Corey Parsons had a show on this network at 3 to 5. So I hop into their show when I can. I hopped in yesterday, and this is the second time Nando is throwing out a rivalry. He's like, oh, there are rivals. Oh, I'm Nando. I think we need to start.
Wait, is Nando here? Oh,
I'm just like,
sorry, I looked away from the camera and I thought I heard his voice.
All right. I think we got a blood feud going on, and we didn't even realize it. And so now we got to start thinking, how are we going to strategize to take down Nando and Corey Parsons later?
Maybe we should just start getting into like Garbage Pail Kids cards and just get like a better collection than what they have.
Sniping Nando in all the auctions.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how embarrassing it would be to have your best Garbage Pail Kid card be Winnie the Pooh?
How humiliating.
How humiliating that would be.
Dude. Yeah.
I don't even want to raid his house like
What
we
a
talked about
dink.
earlier this week and steal that one. That card's not even worth stealing when you see the collection that I'm going to make in the next
We
weeks.
just break in and we leave a note that's like, we didn't find anything cool.
Yeah. you don't own anything cool.
We leave.
All your stuff is not desirable.
Yeah, we steal we make like a
stuff in the house.
sandwich and that's it. Yeah. Thanks.
We give our duplicates to him as we start our collection of Garbage Pail Kids. We'll just break in, leave some duplicates.
Finish off his peanut butter, put the jar back in the cabinet.
We break
put
in
the
and we
lid all the
feel
way on.
we break in and we feel bad, so we leave a couple of things that we stole from the house before. So like,
nicer things.
This guy needs some better cards, dude. We leave him like,
Jail, I like what you said. Just do little things that inconvenience him. Like get into his fridge and like go to like the bottle of juice and just make the cap loose. And like make sure it's like if he's got orange juice with pulp, just loosen the cap so that whenever he goes to shake it up, all of a sudden it just flies everywhere.
Damn it.
Right, yeah. He thinks it's him, slowly loses his mind. Yeah, I think that's actually a good use of our time.
Guys, it is that great use of our time. Guys, right now, it is that time again. It is time for another giveaway. We are giving away an NFL signed jersey. It could be from any of the current or former legendary NFL players. If you want to win this jersey, there's one thing and one thing only you got to do. You got to hit that call in button. Make sure you've downloaded the Better Sports Network app. You're registered. one button, hit the call in. Somebody is going to win a jersey. If you've already won one, you are not going to be eligible. So it's going to be a new winner. But hit that call in button right now if you want to win an NFL jersey. We'll bring you up here, reveal what jersey it's going to be live with you on air, and then celebrate, have a little party. Now, I do have a backup prize. We always have a prize in case they don't want the jersey. And it's not really a backup prize. It's just an alternate. This is one of my treasured items, right? This is something that is very important to me. I've held on to it my entire life. I was actually named after this from my parents. It is a button that says Simonize America. So if you want a Simonize America button, then you just got to call in and you can pick between the jersey or this very limited edition button. And this is not Simon Malls like you may be thinking. I was actually named after the first PDA released by Bell South. Bell South released a PDA called the Simon, and that is what I'm named after. Just a little
public display of
I'm putting all my items on the trade block. If you want to trade me that button, just know that they're all available, including the chapstick.
Simon, you really wanted that chapstick.
Some of it's used, so it could help you with your goal of finishing chapsticks that you seem to really enjoy. So
I've got mine right here. I just finished one yesterday. This is a new tube.
It looks like a battery.
It is not a battery. It is my preferred chapstick that I've got going on. It's either got to be Manscaped chapstick or Burt's Bees medicated. Those are the only two options.
Bees medicated.
Excuse me right there. I saw a question in the chat while we're waiting to have our winner. I see Getting the Game said, back to QBs. Please explain to me why Winston is ranked so low. Thomas, Olave, Landry, Kamara, Hill. I could put up crazy fantasy numbers with those guys. How are you guys feeling on Jameis Winston?
I think I talked about him yesterday that I love those weapons, right? And we've seen him throw for over 5,000 yards, which is absurd in a 16-game season. So I'm fully on board with him. In one QB leagues, I just don't really have the spot for him. So I actually prefer sprinkling some money on him hitting the over on his over-under yardage total, and also a little bit on him to potentially lead the league in passing. It's in his range of outcomes, and it's plus 2,600. So if you were to put down a $100 bet, you're winning over $2,000. So
that's hot.
Yeah, kind of crazy. You think of how many chapsticks you could get.
So many.
Now, I'm loving
Mushu pork chapstick.
In two quarterback leagues or super flex leagues as my second guy, like if I wait on quarterback, if I miss that run, if they're flying off the board and I miss that like second tier of quarterbacks, then I am totally good to go with Jameis Winston as my QB2, because like you said, he's got some upside that some of these other quarterbacks in that range don't have.
Yeah, it's been a while. He wasn't super consistent when he played last year. I think he had 2 games where he actually performed decently out of the 6 that he played. So to me, he's more of an upside play. And that's how I'm viewing him. That's where I'm drafting him. And just like Coop and Simon said, a little bit later in the draft, but yeah, he has that upside. The weapons, iffy. I'm iffy on that. I don't know that the weapons are that fantastic for him, but they could turn out to be. So we'll see.
Which one's bad?
What did Marquez Callaway change his name to?
Marquez Callaway he's not even a starter. We're talking about the starters.
Oh, we got Olave, we got Michael Thomas, right? Olave's a rookie.
Those the bad
Thomas
players?
I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm saying that there's risk. I'm not saying that they don't have talent.
But that's where the upside that you're talking about comes from. Is maybe if everything pans out the way we're looking at.
Adam Troutman.
Troutman's kind of nice. He was hurt last year, dude. Had a couple games, 6-7 targets there. They got Taysom Hill play a little tight end. Do whatever that crazy stuff he does.
Do a little dance.
Guys, it looks like we have a winner for our contest that we're going to be bringing up on stage. Are you ready? I'm so excited to see what jersey we're giving away today. I'm going to get it right today. I've got a new strategy. I zoom in, make sure I see the right player. We're going to be good. Dustin, welcome back on the show. Congrats on winning our jersey today.
Let's
What's
go.
up, guys?
Dustin's
super
got
excited.
that. Sorry.
I'm super excited. Missed the show yesterday. Had some dental work done, but happy to be back today and win this jersey.
Man,
in the future, you don't have to choose dental work or us. Coop does plenty of dental work. Just come on in and he'll take care of you.
Yeah.
Come on by, dude. I'll take good care of you, man. Well, let's see a big smile now that you won and you got your dental work done.
It's in the back. It's in the back. You can't see it.
Okay,
Well,
so then just do this with your mouth real quick, live on camera.
Yeah.
Oh my God, beautiful, Dustin.
Wow.
Really put that
Wow,
camera
that looks
into your mouth.
amazing,
That's what we
dude.
want to
Yeah,
see.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we're gonna have all our guests do that moving forward.
Yeah, yell into your mouth hole.
We'll
Show
yell
us
into
them
your mouth
chompers.
hole.
Show
Guys,
us those chompers.
I think we're ready to find out what jersey you won today. We've had some killer ones so far this week. Let's see what jersey is coming your way. Oh man, I'm excited.
Get in the game.
Get in the game.
Oh,
This is
Derrick, it's funnier
electric.
every day.
I love this box break animation. I love that they don't tell us either. Antonio
Bill,
That
Gates.
is amazing. Bill Gates jersey.
Bill Gates jersey.
Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, dude, the kicker on our all tight end team, right?
No,
Yeah.
that is an awesome jersey. You can't beat a Hall of Famer. One of the best, if not the greatest tight end ever. I think that's just a sweet jersey to have.
Sick, dude.
That's
so
so
excited
cool.
for you.
That's
bro.
such a sick
Congratulations,
jersey. Dustin, are you going to choose that or the Simonize America button?
Difficult choice. Because I can take the button and then trade it to Coop for all of his stuff. Is that correct?
It is transferable.
And more. I'll get a Flacco
And
jersey.
more.
I'll throw in the Flacco jersey.
We got
gotta
we got a
be-
Sammy Coates.
I think I'm going to stick
Same
with
goes.
the Antonio Gates jersey.
Oh, man. Sticking with the Gates jersey.
Yeah.
Dustin, congratulations on the W, man. Taking home that sick
Thank you guys
Antonio
so
Gates
much.
jersey. Appreciate you
This
coming
is-
up on with us for a little bit.
This is my first ever autographed jersey. I'm excited.
Oh, welcome
Let's
to the collection.
go.
It's gonna spark. You're gonna get one, and then all of a sudden you're gonna have 17.
Then you're going to
in your
be
closet.
$20,000 in debt.
If you need it,
probably.
hey, go over to Lightning Round Fantasy, LR Fantasy's YouTube channel. My co-host from that show, Kevin Tompkins, has an awesome video on how to mount an autographed jersey in a shadow
Okay.
box. So
That's
if you
awesome.
just
Yeah,
if you
great.
took LR Fantasy shadow box, he sat down one day because he has them all behind him. He
Thank
sat down one
God.
day and went step by step on how to do it, and I actually used it to mount my Marcus Smart jersey, and so it
Nice.
definitely works. So go check
All
that
right.
out. Lightning Round
I need
Fantasy on
that.
YouTube.
And
I
then you
need
actually
to-
have
I
to
need
hang, and then you actually have to hang it on the wall. I see Simon finally got around to that after years of them sitting on the floor. So
I almost put mine on the floor
The
this morning.
shade. Yeah, and honestly, only one of them's hanging on the wall. The other one is still sitting on a cabinet, Dustin. The
close
DJ
enough,
more
I
than-
think. That's good enough.
Close enough.
It's
I
off
did
the
it.
ground.
After yesterday's show, I did actually throw my Calvin Johnson jersey right on the ground behind me.
Right on the
Rude,
ground.
Just disrespectful. Well, congratulations again, Dustin.
Yeah,
Thanks again for
Dustin.
coming up, and we'll get that jersey to you shortly. Have a good one, man.
Appreciate you, brother.
Awesome,
Dustin's
dude.
out of
Couldn't
here.
have been-
Guys, I know Coop just plugged that awesome video, but I'm going to tell you the steps real quick for how to hang it in a shadow box. It's pretty easy. So let me just walk you through this. What you do, you go buy the shadow boxes and you don't think about which way you want the jerseys in them ahead of time. You lay down on the ground in your living room with your jersey out and you start putting it in there. And then it looks awful the first 20 times you do it. After you do that, you look up a couple YouTube videos. Maybe you find Kevin's. You get in there, you hang it up. You finally got it. You go to put it down and the jersey falls, right? After you've closed the shadow box. This is when the very important step of crying comes in. And you have to make sure
Crying.
someone
How do you spell
else
that?
that care, CRYING, crying.
Okay.
It's when the water
Crying.
comes out of your, the holes near the top of your head right there.
That's
Um,
what that is?
Yeah. So you need to cry and you need to make sure someone that cares about you hears it. Okay.
Okay.
So someone that cares about you has to hear you crying. You then abandon the task and leave it in an inconvenient place for everybody else that lives at your house. I'm
What if
talking
no
in
one's
the
home?
middle. Well, then it has to wait there. It just has to wait there. And you need to wait until someone's home to like shed those tears. Shed those
Adult.
tears, leave it in the middle of the living room, the kitchen, jersey spread across the floor, shadow boxes wide open. And then you come back a day later and they're going to be in the shadow box. Someo's going to have put
Who's
them in
who's
there.
going to be in there?
The person that cared about you while you weren't looking, put them in the shadow box, and then you're good to go.
And then they got stuck in there.
Seems
So that's-
pretty efficient.
That's my guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I just got to find somebody who cares about me.
And
And we're good. Then we're good to go.
That's going to be nearly impossible.
So you have, can dogs put jerseys into shadow boxes?
We're going to find out.
Absolutely not.
After the
Absolutely not.
break.
You don't think that's in Rosie's
Absolutely not.
capabilities?
After the
Absolutely
break, we're
not.
going to find out if a dog can put a jersey in a shadow box. Welcome to
We
Front
just
Yard
put a
Fantasy.
camera on Jersey, like a camera on Rosie, just like sniffing the frame
Yeah.
and sniffing the jersey. And then she
Man.
lays down and we just wait. How long do we give until she doesn't do it? I think it's
Keith's
solid
really
30
phoning it in
minutes.
nowadays.
I know. What a segment, Keith.
Yeah.
Get in the game wants to know what jersey would you draft first from this week's giveaways. So from the jerseys we've given away so far, let's run it back. We had Sammy Coates day 1. We had Calvin Johnson day 2. I'm just kidding. We had Ben Coates day 1. We had Chris Johnson day 2. We had Devontae Adams day 3. We had Dante Culpepper day 4. And day 5, we just gave away an Antonio Gates jersey.
Antonio Gates.
I'm picking the Antonio Gates jersey probably. If I'm picking one of those, I'll take the Antonio Gates jersey. But Jay, what would be your preferred one?
My preferred jersey?
Yeah, out of the ones we gave away today.
I would love a Stephon Diggs signed jersey.
Oh, no, of the 5 we gave away.
Oh,
of
God,
the 5.
JL.
I thought you were just asking what I wanted. All right.
Sorry, I only read the question out loud that said, what jersey would you draft first from this week's giveaways?
JL.
I don't listen.
It's a little confusing. Yeah, it's a little hard.
No,
I would go with
Stephon
Stephon Diggs.
We're going to skip JL. You monster.
Did I do good?
Yeah, you killed it, JL. Really good job. Just absolutely nailed it. Coop, what about you?
I think you guys know the answer to that one, dude. I'm going
Ben Coates.
My boy Ben Coates.
Mark,
my
whatever
favorite tight end
Marquez
of all
Callaway's
time.
new name is.
Sammy Coates. I'm going, my boy Ben Coates, dude. Like one of my favorite tight ends of all time, my favorite team. And that thing would be, I would just rip everything off this wall, like and just smash it to bits and put it right there in the middle. So just make a huge mess. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. In the chat, it seems like Dustin said Gates first, so he won his first choice. And then Jordan down there saying the Devontae Adams jersey would be first. I was tempted by the Devontae Adams jersey. I was tempted by him on the Raiders. That's a fun jersey.
That's the one I would pick.
I want to add a note that I know Jordan Loop is on another podcast, the Fantasy Besties with me, and I know he's a Dolphins fan. So him putting Coates last is not an indictment on Coates. That is a Dolphins homer take.
Yeah, Coates, if you're listening, don't get your feelings hurt.
That's right.
And Jordan said, yes, it is. It is an indictment on Coates.
It is
just letting you know that it is personal and it is about Coates. And Dustin reminded us we've had 2 tight ends while Coop is on. They know their host. Yeah, they know what's up. It's going to slowly just become all tight ends.
I'm getting the FOMOs though, honestly, pretty hard. Like I'm seeing that jersey, I'm like, dude, I'm like, that would actually. So every time when it comes up, I'm like, damn, that would be so sick. Like
you're gonna see Coop just start taking a Sharpie in the middle of the show, and like whenever someone wins a shirt, he's just gonna start like drawing the number on himself to like try to feel included. Like, look, I've got a Gates jersey too.
Being on the show is fine, but like it seems like being on the chat is more fun.
Ooh, they got a freaking fun button. Why don't we have a fun button?
Fun button if you have fun in the chat. Let's go. Smash it up.
We don't have a fun button, but we could just, it's kind of like a fun button if we just call Keith over and over and hang up. We could just keep on pressing the call button over and over.
Or I thought you meant we just like dox him. Like I'll just put his number in the chat.
Oh yeah, that's kind of like our fun
so
button.
that everyone can just heckle Keith. Wait, this is a really good idea.
Smash the fun button if you want to dox Keith. Let us know in the chat.
If you want Keith's number.
Yeah, Andrew
Guys,
Hall just shows back up to the chat, says, "Sup again, fellas. Hall, you're here the whole beginning. Lave, you come back right after we give away a autographed Antonio Gates jersey.
That was the most poorly timed poop I've ever seen, Andrew Hall. You took that
Unbelievable.
little morning poop break and just missed out on the Antonio Gates jersey. That's okay. Guys, I wanted to talk to you about some of these players that flashed last year and if we're expecting them to keep it up this year. And the first one I wanted to mention was one that JL, you mentioned you weren't as high, or you were a little bit higher on yesterday, someone you're excited about. And then Coop continuously throughout the show, over and over and over again, through the most subtlest of shades that way. It is wide receiver for the Detroit Lions, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He blew up at the end of last season. If you look at his end of season stats, you would think that he had a productive year the entire year, but really he did it over just the back half of the season. Put that together, but he was the only show in town. Dale, I know you're probably the highest on Amon-Ra out of all of us here. Do you think this was a flash in the pan, or do you think we're going to see more of what we saw last year from this dude?
I think there's a few things to consider in the situation. Amon-Ra St. Brown's situation is going to be different this year. I think that's the most common, counterpoint to Amon-Ra St. Brown is that Hawkinson wasn't really healthy, wasn't there. They didn't really have any other wide receiver options apart from Rashad Perriman. I can't even name who the third wide receiver would have been. But, and Amon-Ra St. Brown was a rookie going into last season. And so the first half of the season wasn't great. He's on one of the worst offenses in the league. But he was able to turn on in the second half of the season. And I feel like even if you don't believe that Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to have the same opportunity this year, you have to admit that it takes talent to do that so consistently over 6 games last year in Detroit Lions offense, which is going to be fantastic. So I'm bought in on Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he's fantastic. I think he has the talent. I think he works hard. He's just got, I think he's a good, like his mindset is good as well.
Coop, before you jump in, I know you're on the other side here. I just wanted to read through his games from week 13 on, his PPR fantasy scores. So it was 24.8 PPR fantasy points in week 13. Week 14, it was a little bit of a down week, 15.3. And then he had 23.5, 26, 35.4, and 26.1 were his PPR fantasy scores from week 13 on. Only one below 24, and that was 15, and then multiple weeks above 25 PPR fantasy points. But Coop, I think you live on the other side of this debate. You're not expecting that same production from him this year, if I'm correct, right?
Of course not. I mean, no one is. How could you possibly project a guy to have the same production that he had when TJ Hawkinson was hurt, Swift was hurt, Jamal Williams was hurt? They went out and got DJ Moore. They went out and got Jameson Williams. This team was tanking on purpose, trying to lose, and they did a great job because they won the fewest games in the entire league. They won 3. Right. So they let their split end Kenny Golladay leave for comp picks. They let Marvin Jones leave for comp picks. Now they went out and got a split end in DJ Chark. They went out and got a flanker in Jameson Williams. Like they're building the actual team now. We've seen guys have these big weeks on these ghost ships before. We saw Keelan Cole be the wide receiver 3 over a similar stretch on the Jaguars when they were tanking. Then they went out and got wide receivers, and Keelan Cole became dust. And in fact, the wide receiver they went out and got was DJ Chark. Like we've seen Robert Foster with Josh Allen have monster weeks, multiple 100-yard games, more 100-yard games over his 6-game stretch than Amon-Ra St. Brown just had. And then they went out and got John Brown and Cole Beasley, and the dude was vaporized. Like that's what happens when a team's tanking. It's a ghost ship just sailing off into the night, trying to move picks and cash to next year. And this skeleton crew is where Amon-Ra St. Brown scored these points. But if you really sit down and look at it, there's a very good chance that he was just the one-eyed king in the land of the blind, and now they have actual talent for him to compete with. And if you go back and look at, Jared Goff dumping it down, this is a new thing. Like he did this with Tyler Higbee at the end of 2019, and Higbee had games of 8 targets, 107 yards, 11 targets, 116 yards, 14 targets, 111 yards, 11 targets, 104 yards, 12 targets, 84 yards. I mean, what's the difference between that stretch where he had 8, 11, 14, 11, 12 targets on just, against defenses that didn't care? It's the same thing that just happened just now. And Tyler Higbee went back in the bottle. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, maybe he is the best 4th round wide receiver we've seen in 15 years, or maybe he's just a slow, low A-dot possession receiver. So that's my Amon-Ra St. Brown take. And just don't be careful with a player like that.
Yeah, I guess where I land on this is probably somewhere in the middle. I think where he's being drafted is totally fine. He's currently, over the past 2 weeks, according to NFFC, being drafted as the wide receiver 23. So it's a back-end wide receiver 2. And I saw Dustin in the chat bringing up weeks 4 through 6, the signs he'll be productive with Hawk and Swift. And he was, 2 of those 3 weeks, he had around 13 PPR fantasy points, which is a good wide receiver. It's likely a wide receiver 2. And I'm expecting around that level of production from him this year. I don't think he's going to be a wide receiver 1 like we saw at the end of last year, but I do think we can get top 24 production out of him. And so as long as people aren't reaching on him in drafts and he's going in that wide receiver 2 range, I'm cool with drafting him at that spot. Just temper your expectations. Coop, you're not cool with drafting him at that spot?
No, he was getting 4 targets until Hawkinson and Swift got hurt. Like 5, 6, 4, 4 targets. And when you're slow and you run a 5-yard A-dot, well, technically it was 7-yard A-dot, it's just not exciting. Like this guy had 12 targets, 86 yards, 12 targets, 73 yards. Like when a guy like that starts getting 7 or 8 targets, what is he going to have? 50, 60 yards? He's just like, Jamison Crowder, Tyler Boyd Beasley.
How dare you shame Tyler Boyd and Jamison Crowder in the same sentence?
Expensive Jacoby
Those are
Myers.
2 guys that I love. We love Tyler Boyd, remember?
Expensive Jacoby Myers. The problem with Tyler Boyd is that when the offense is full, he's the guy that comes off the field in 2 wide receiver sets. So when DJ Chark and Jameson Williams are there, are you going to take Jameson Williams out of the game? Right? No, it's going to be the slot guy. So he's fine in redraft again during the rebuild, but I would sell high in dynasty because you can sell him for like a 1st round pick, which is insane for a day 3 wide receiver.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, we're going to be talking some more Factor Flash. We got some more players we're going to be talking about. A little bit of Hunter Renfrow, maybe some Cordero Patterson coming up. And then Coach Grant Caraway, wide receivers and quarterback coach, is going to be joining us on the show. And then we're going to talk some rivalries here on Better Sports Network. It's sports talk for bettors, fantasy players, and collectors.
Collectible moments.
Everybody up here at U.S. Cellular. Sox 5 runs, 6 hits. The 2-1 to Bartlett. Swing shot to short. Ramirez has it, throws. Burley picks a perfect game. His second no-hitter. People going crazy here at U.S. Cellular. He's mobbed by his teammates. A perfecto.
Now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ, lays it in. Right out, 1 second left. What a play by Bird. Bird stole the impounding pass. Laid it up to DJ. DJ laid it up and in. And Boston has a 1-point lead with 1 second left.
Out of the I formation on first down. Peterson to carry, looking for running room on the right side, has it to the 25, across the 30, across the 35, and out of bounds at the 40-yard line. Adrian Peterson has just gone over 2,000 yards for the season, the 7th man in NFL history to cross the 2,000-yard mark.
Well, a thundering ovation for number 66, Mario Lemieux.
Just the emotion I'm sure Mario is feeling in this place. You don't appreciate something until it's gone, and it's so great to have Mario back.
Yager turns around. Over to Lemieux. Mario Lemieux, his first goal in his comeback here tonight at the Mellon Arena. And the Penguins lead 3-0, and he is smiling like a butcher's dog. Mario Lemieux.
Oh, the band is out on the field. He's going to go into the end zone. The Bears have scored, but the bands are out on the field.
Pearson moves in front of the STP Dodge. Petty comes back to the inside. They almost touch as they move down low in the banking. You're going to be side by side as they exit the bank and head for the finish line.
Richard Petty goes back in front. They both spin. They're in the wall. Petty is sliding, slamming into the wall. He's coming down toward the finish line. Will he make it? Pearson is still running. The winner is car number 21. An amazing finish. Richard Petty's car demolished in the front end, as well as car number 21. An unbelievable finish, a terrible crash. David Pearson has won the Daytona 500. Leitner catches, comes down, dribbles, shoots, scores! Christian Leitner has hit the bucket at the buzzer! Pitched by Downey, swinging, there's a drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7-15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron.
The most valuable player is Magic Johnson. 42 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists. He starts at center, plays forward and guard, and leads the Los Angeles Lakers to a world championship 123-107 over Philadelphia.
Whether you collect sports memorabilia, fantasy championships, or winning bet slips, talk about it on Better Sports Network.
Good morning and welcome back into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. We just finished talking some Amon-Ra St. Brown. It sounded like, Coop, you were flash. JL was definitely fact. And I lived somewhere in the middle. Like, maybe not a flash, but it's not pure fact either, what we saw at the end of last season. Because I wanted to talk about another wide receiver. One that ended as a wide receiver 1 last year that I think nobody was expecting to finish there. And that is the Raiders wide receiver, Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow was one of the most targeted players in the NFL last year. I think a similar situation where he was the guy. He was the one player who was having the ball thrown to him in that offense, but he also looked great doing it. And that role might not necessarily be challenged in that offense. Coop, do you think Hunter Renfrow is fact what we saw last year, or was it a flash?
Well, the thing was about Hunter Renfrow is that even last year, I went and broke down the individual games because I wanted to see for myself. And in the games that Darren Waller missed, he was wide receiver 4, right? That's when he was crushing. In the games where Darren Waller played, he was wide receiver 24. So not quite as good, right? So when I look at it that way, and then when you throw Devontae Adams in there, the way I look at it is I think it's factual that this guy is a good route runner and he's a good player, clearly a super cerebral player. I mean, one of my favorite plays from last year was that when he was back there to return the punt and they did the fake punt, and he came up and stuck that guy.
Yeah.
Like, I imagine like Bill Belichick, like when he goes to sleep at night, just puts that on YouTube and just watches it over and over, right? Yeah, just and he just is like, falls asleep, soundly. But I just worry about the targets because, like I said with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jalen Waddle, Hunter Renfrow is a lower ADOT guy. He's not the kind of guy that's going to bust off giant touchdowns. And he's also a dude. When I look at him, dude, he looks more like a pen salesman than he does a wide receiver. He looks like
pen salesman.
He looks like Dustin
Mountain pen
Pedroia,
salesman.
But Dustin Pedroia was an MVP, so it doesn't matter what you look like. But I just think he comes back to earth a bit here because Devontae Adams and Waller and all the targets there. I don't know, JL, are you in or are you out on this player?
I am in. I think it's fact, but I completely agree, which is that I don't think he's going to have the same production they did last year. Here's the thing about Hunter Renfrow. Everyone wants to make fun of, oh, he looks like he sells insurance. Oh, he looks like he's going to sell Elmer's glue.
Oh, he loves grapes.
He looks like my uncle. Yeah, he loves grapes.
I'm not sure if you're trying to make fun of us, but everything you just said was hilarious.
I'm not sure I'm making fun of either.
So you're kind of joining us with that. What was the second one you said after insurance?
Elmer's glue.
Elmer's glue.
Yeah. Yeah, Elmer's glue salesman.
He looks like he orders applesauce at a side at restaurants. Like, can you sub the French fries for applesauce?
Oh, restaurant applesauce is the worst too.
Yeah, and he gets a big dinner out as they go to like Chili's, right? Like,
hey, watch the chili slander.
I love Chili's.
Watch
too.
the chili slander. It's the
He has a
second
multimillionaire.
best chain sports bar restaurant.
But back to my point.
You're right,
Last season he had 7.5 targets a game. He's not going to get that again. Like Coop said, there's more competition. Darren Waller's coming back. Devontae Adams is there. They're going to take away some of those targets. But the reason why I still consider him a fact, or that he's not a flash, he is absolutely fact, is that he is talented. He's a very talented wide receiver, and he's going to make things happen. He's able to create separation, and I feel like he fits in that offense. He's a defined role carved out that is Hunter Renfrow's.
Yeah, let me ask Jay one extra question. Let me ask you, where did Hunter Renfrow go to college?
He went, I don't know. I'll have to look that up.
He was at Clemson University for about 12 years.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's all you need to know about that take.
He played there for 12. Hey, come on. We can remove ourselves from the bias. And Coop, you know what? Because I had watched so much Hunter Renfrow tape. I'd seen so much of him in college. Jalen and I already knew how good of a wide receiver he was. So you know who had Hunter Renfrow on a ton of their fantasy teams last year during that wide receiver 10 season? JL and I. What
more does Hunter Renfrow have to do to convince you that he's good?
Wide receiver 1 overall. Top 10 isn't good.
God.
Top 10 is not good enough.
Top 10 is not good enough. Only won a national championship, and
he should have intercepted.
Relevant.
He should have intercepted that fake punt.
Yeah.
More Hunter
that
Renfrow.
Tackle was.
Then I'd be on.
Be a man.
If the line for Factor Flash is a top 10 wide receiver, then this is Flash. I don't think he's going to be a top 10 wide receiver. But where you're drafting him, he's being drafted as wide receiver 34 off the board. You're not drafting him anywhere near that. And he's a good player, and good players get targets. Know what I mean? It may not be the 128 from last year, but he's going to be an integral part of this offense. I expect this offense to be a good offense with Devontae Adams, Derrick Carr, Josh Jacobs, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller. Like, this should be a fun offense to watch. Hunter Renfrow is going to have plenty to eat in that pie that the Las Vegas Raiders are serving up. It's not mincemeat. It's cherry. It's a cherry pie, and Hunter Renfrow is going to have a decent slice of it. I think his floor is a wide receiver 2, and he's being drafted in wide receiver 3 territory. So I'm in on that front.
I'm with
So
you.
we talked about, I don't want to derail us, but I'm going to. We talked about Dolphin pie and now Raider pie. Which NFL team would make the worst pie?
The Browns.
Browns would be some pretty bad pie.
Browns
would be
the Jets.
I'm not going to say the Jets. I was going to say, I don't want to say the Jets.
Yeah.
The Seahawks.
Oh, I bet you could find some. I bet you could find some meat on a Seahawk. Know what I mean? Like
some neon green pie.
Raven pie is some Edgar Allan Poe stuff.
Yeah, it's scary.
I'm pretty sure there's a poem written about it. I'm trying to think of other teams. The Chargers would probably hurt if you tried to eat a Charger pie.
Oh, Charger pie sounds delicious.
Of all the bird teams, JL I think got it right. Seahawk pie just sounds way worse. Like Cardinal pie doesn't sound bad at all.
No,
Seahawk pie.
Yeah,
exactly.
Seahawk pie. Oh
no.
Oh, is that I don't know why I just thought of this. The other day I was trying to this was just a faux pas I had. The Seahawks, it lives in my head over and over and over again. We were doing a mock draft where we had to take players from a specific team where we just spun a wheel before every single pick, and whatever team it landed on, you had to take a player from that team. My first round pick, I get the Seattle Seahawks, and you know who I took, Coop?
You're
probably not going to get. I took Russell Wilson.
Oh.
He's not on the Seahawks anymore, so I immediately broke the rules. It's just not good. I have trouble with the rules on that game. Let's see. Getting the game said plus the running backs in Las Vegas all catch passes. So are you concerned that Hunter Renfro's role is going to maybe cede some work to these pass catchers in the run game?
I think it's going to be he's going to bring over the Erhardt Perkins offense that they ran in New England. And the reason I believe that is that when they did joint practices with the Patriots, Josh McDaniels in his press conference said, hey, they knew all the plays. That means he brought over that playbook. And what that means is it's a split backfield. And in that case, that means to me that Josh Jacobs isn't going to get as many targets as he got last year. He's probably going to get more like a Damian Harris or LeGarrette Blount or Sonny Michel type target share, which is not that many. And I don't think Amir Abdullah is in that pass catching role, or Brandon Bolden is that good to command a big target share. So I actually do think that the targets will be fairly highly consolidated among Waller, Adams, and Renfro. And, as you said, we've adjusted for ADP. So he's back to 33. I think in that offense, if one player goes down, the other two are going to go to the moon. Otherwise, it's going to be, I think, just kind of a who's it going to be this week type situation.
Checks out. Guys, another player that I wanted to talk about on this front, Factor Flash, a player that flashed last year, and I think this one's going to be a little bit contentious. This has been one of the hottest players this offseason. We're going to stick with some receivers because that's what I want to talk about, and I'm deciding right here. We're going to talk about Gabriel Davis as the next guy, fact or flash. And Coop, I know how you feel about Gabriel Davis, so I'm going to come to you first. And what do you think's going to happen with him this year? Are you drafting Gabriel Davis? Do you think we're going to see what we saw at the end of last season?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get our show canceled here because I know that Gabriel Davis, I'm on Ross St. Brown already, and now Gabriel Davis, man.
We had a long run. We had a long and good run.
Here's the thing for me is I've done a lot of research on late round wide receivers, day 3 wide receivers. I have an article on Fantasy Alarm. If you just type fantasy in your Google machine, type Fantasy Alarm, the truth about late round wide receivers, right? And here is the truth. The odds of these guys hitting is super small. It's like 5%. And the guys that do hit, a lot of them, they weren't the guys you'd expect. We're talking about like Antonio Brown, who literally got kicked out of multiple schools. He got kicked out of Florida International. Like, he was an absolute menace. He shouldn't have been drafted in that range. You've got the second best one in the last 15 years in terms of fantasy points is Pierre Garçon. And he went to do a Division III school. Like,
man, I forgot about Pierre Garçon.
Julian Edelman's on the list. He played quarterback in college. He didn't even play wide receiver. So it's like when you take out the weirdo hits that shouldn't have been drafted in that range, it gets even smaller. So now I look at guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Gabriel Davis. For me in Dynasty, I'm the type of guy that wants to trade these guys away when they're at their highest value. And we have a guy in Gabriel Davis who had 35 receptions both years. He had the big game versus the Chiefs, but what people forget is that he didn't have a single reception until Tyrann Mathieu got a concussion. So through the second quarter, he didn't have a reception. Gabriel Davis's first reception in that Chiefs game was with 1 minute left in the first quarter after Tyrann Mathieu got his concussion. And then he, made some plays against backups, essentially. I mean, like, go and look at the highlights. Like, on 2 of them, the cornerback fell down. And on the other 2, the backup Thornton for Tyrann Mathieu led up touchdowns. So for me, I look at it and I think this guy is going to be a little more boom bust than people think, which is fine for best ball, but there's going to be some pain for you in your redraft leagues. And for me, I'd rather just wait and take Adam Thielen. Gabriel Davis is a guy we hope becomes the next Adam Thielen. So why are we taking him 7 rounds ahead of actual Adam Thielen?
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on this, Coop. And again, maybe we're going to get double canceled because I know people love Gabe Davis. But I just don't see the most likely outcome as him like having a massive uptick in targets and becoming the true wide receiver 2 on that team. We saw last year that they love to use the player playing in the slot. Isaiah McKenzie and Jamison Crowder, whichever one of those guys wins out in that job, in that slot role, I think is probably the most likely person on that team to have the second most targets. Like you said, though, Gabe Davis is going to have big games. He's one of the guys in the league that can have a 2-3 touchdown game, can put those numbers up for you, but that's not the kind of player I want to plug in every week. Give me that Isaiah McKenzie. Give me that Jamison Crowder, whoever wins that job. I'm not drafting Gabe Davis as the wide receiver 20 off the board. Just seems way too inconsistent.
Too spicy.
No,
Yeah.
I'm with you guys completely.
Oh,
I'm with you guys
completely.
completely.
Three anti-Gabe Davisers.
Last year, he had one single game between 25 and 30 points, one single game between 16 and 20 points, and then 4 games between 11 and 15 points, and then everything else was below 10. That's not good. That is not fantastic. That is not what you want to see from a guy that you're drafting as wide receiver 2, locked in wide receiver, high-end wide receiver 2.
Everyone likes to talk about the Chiefs game where he went bonkers. How about the game 2 weeks before that versus the Jets where Manny Sanders got hurt? He got 14 targets and he only caught 3 of 14 targets for 36 yards. Like, had the Bills not made obviously the Bills are a playoff team, but you have to think of how crazy this game is we play. Most of the teams didn't make the playoffs. Had they not made the playoffs, then he would have, the last game he played would have been 3 catches on 14 targets. Like, we wouldn't be drafting him anywhere close to where we're drafting him. But the Chiefs game happened and now we're moving him way up the board. Right. And if you look at like his Pro Football Focus grade, without that Chiefs game, he was like wide receiver 60. But with the game, he's like wide receiver 20. He's the scariest player. He's the scariest player out there.
So according to RotoViz, he was a wide receiver 6% of the time last year, a wide receiver 3+ 94% of the time.
Go. And you're gonna draft him at 20.
You draft him at 20.
You draft a guy at 20, you draft him because you think that guy can be a wide receiver 1. Right?
Oh,
like, I'm not
right.
taking wide receivers in that range. I'm not taking wide receiver 20 hoping he's wide receiver 18. I'm taking wide receiver 20 because I think he can be the top dog. Like Rashad Bateman, I think can be a wide receiver 1, and he's going after that. So it makes it so hard for me to take that guy.
Just to build on that, if you include 2020, so his whole career, 2021, 2022, he is averaging 8.2 PPR points a game. He's been a wide receiver 1 3% of the time, wide receiver 2 9% of the time, and wide receiver 3 88% of the time over 2 seasons.
Good.
We just haven't seen it. We have not seen it enough. It has not been sustained, and I'm not convinced that his success wasn't because he was on the Bills and not because
I could hear you.
Talented.
Yeah. And the thing about like his best comparable player on Player Profiler is Zach Pascal. And the year before last, he and Zach Pascal scored the exact same PPR points down to the decimal. Like, that's a coincidence to a certain degree, but it doesn't stop me from posting it on people on Twitter and laughing at how amazing of a coincidence it is. It's just But enough bagging on Gabe Davis.
Yeah,
I think we've got Coach Grant Caraway with us. Grant, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes,
absolutely.
Sir.
Thank you so much for joining us today, guys. Coach Grant Caraway is the founder of First Down Training and QB and wide receiver coach and former collegiate and high school quarterback and wide receiver. I'm so happy to have you on. And you came in at the perfect time. We've just talked about 3 wide receivers in a row. We talked about Amon-Ra St. Brown, Hunter Renfrow, and Gabriel Davis as guys. Is it Factor Flash? Is what we saw last year for real. So real quick, of those 3 guys, Coach Grant, which one of those guys do you think is the most likely to repeat what we saw last season? Or which one of those guys do you like most from a talent perspective?
I like St. Brown the best. I mean, he's a California guy. I'm in California. I actually went to school with them, their family decently well. And he's like work ethic guy, like going to put his head down. He's going to do, I think he's the best receiver they have. So I think he's probably, in my opinion, the best one out of the 3. From a technique perspective, I think everything he does is very smooth, and he's just getting better. He's still getting better, and so I'm really high on him this year. I like him a lot.
My man, hear that, Coop?
I was actually not listening. Sorry, I tune in anytime somebody says good things. I will say that, Grant, you did echo a lot of stuff that I have heard. That the stuff that does get me on St. Brown is that, like, when you look at Hard Knocks helps, of course, but when you look at that family, like their father takes it very serious. Those guys are obviously in amazing shape, like Equinemius, Osiris, all those
200
brothers.
balls a day.
Yeah, 202 actually, because
my bad.
the other guys are doing 200, right?
Yeah.
You know, so I do, you know, that is, you can brute force your way to being a star. Deshaun Jackson's another example where he had his upbringing is the reason that he was so good. So that is not nothing. So I do agree with that part.
Grant, I wanted to talk a little bit about this rookie wide receiver class coming in because I feel like it was super hyped up. I know I was in love with Drake London coming out of the draft, but I'm curious which of these guys, one guy or multiple guys, stands out to you as a future NFL star from this incoming rookie wide receiver class?
Out of Ohio State, I think Garrett Wilson's probably. And from like a technique perspective, because that's obviously what I focus on, like what we look for in our wide receivers, you know, whether we're doing camps or, you know, whether we're doing, you know, training or we're, you know, working with a younger kid, the things that we look for in a guy are guys who can, you know, sell vertical on every route that they do. You know, can they get that DB to bail out of there? Can they run their routes with speed? You know, can they get that DB to get out of his pedal and open up his. Now, when you take a look at some of his film from Ohio State, like he does that extremely well. He gets in and out with a ton of explosion, just a ton of power. He's like Jerry Jeudy. Like, honestly, like he's like Jerry Jeudy in that respect of route running. And I know Jeudy hasn't done much in the league, but like in terms of just like pure route running, I think Wilson is the guy. I don't think anybody's even close to him. I don't think anybody even touches him in that respect in terms of the rookie class. But I like him the most, and then I like London as well. He's another California guy, but he's like I work with a couple guys who went to SC. And they were telling me that like his, because I don't know if he, whatever year before his year at SC, like he was kind of just eyes, and they said something changed last year, and it wasn't even close. He was just dominating guys like in practice, and everybody in that locker room knew that he was going to go off before he even did it. Like everybody was just kind of like, "Wow, this guy's amazing!" Like this, but before the injury, obviously, I think it might have been the year before that actually. But yeah, I like those two guys. I think those two guys are the most gonna have the most success, in my opinion.
Love that. Just drafted Garrett Wilson, my rookie draft, so I'm hyped.
I love that confirmation. Right? Yeah, I've been drafting a lot of Drake London too, so I'm like, okay. So we like to try and teach our listeners and followers how to play fantasy football, how to analyze this game, rather than just telling them who to pick, right? So, and I know you as a scout, like, and there's so many Twitter scouts out there that think they're amazing at like analyzing, and it's just like, you know, stop. But you are a professional, right? So, can you give us like one thing and give our listeners one thing that maybe they can put in the back of their mind when they're watching, you know, coming up to the draft, when they're watching highlights or watching film or whatever, either a good thing or a bad thing that somebody at home who's, you know, maybe watching like 10, 12 routes in a row, they can look for as something that can be a positive besides them being from California?
I think the main thing that I would say, like to just especially like you can kind of attribute it to the way offenses are played now, because like a lot of people don't realize that like the scheme of the NFL is changing and it's going more towards like that college speed, you know, spread, right? So I think you're going to get in that air raid offense a lot of one-on-one matchups. So like I think the ability for guys to be able to win one-on-one is huge. Like you see a lot of guys like I don't know, like especially from that high school to college jump, because that's what we see a lot of, at least. Like you'll see guys get away with it, and even in college, because the DBs, you know, just aren't as talented. DBs are the best in the game, but those guys in high school get away with just being big and fast. So like they'll, you know, just throw the ball and they'll come down with it. A lot of times that happens in college too. And I think especially the way offenses are now, especially the way the DB position is evolving, those guys who can win those matchups, if you see that they can get separation one-on-one and win, then that's all you should really look for. Especially you look at guys who aren't the best athletes, like a Hunter Renfrow, for example, like not the guy who's going to run a 4.3 40, but that guy gets a ton of separation. He's a real solid asset to that team. Like that's why, because he can run routes, he can beat press, he can get breaks. So it's I think you're going to see more and more of that, and I think that position's, you know, constantly changing. So that's what I would say, ability to win one-on-one.
These two next to me are Clemson fans, so they're going to try and have you on every week now after pumping up Hunter Renfrow.
Yes, Hunter Renfrow, let's go. Wide receiver, you. No, I love that. I that insight is fantastic. I think a lot of people don't necessarily think about that. What is how can people who may not be trained in this and scouting and the mechanics of the position, how can they tell the difference between a wide receiver who's just getting lucky, or there are the factors that are really pushing up the success versus ones who have those mechanics that you're looking for, the separation, just the route running, the mechanics that really mean success or translate to success over time?
Yeah, I mean, I think two good clips that your listeners could check out are that clip. There's a clip, I think it was like Elijah Moore, and they were talking about like, what does he do off of press? Like, how does he make a decision? And the first question he asked was like, okay, well, what's the DB's leverage? How's the DB playing me? And that's going to dictate what I'm going to do. So something that we talk a lot about and why we've gotten some traction with our brand is because we don't just like show guys drills. We're teaching them like how to actually go. When this DB gives you this look, this is how you should attack. You're looking from a receiver perspective. It's like, does he know to attack specific defensive looks? Like, I'll give you an example. Like, let's say you line up on the line and a DB's lined up like inside shade. So he's lined up, let's say you're on the right side and he's lined up to the left of you, maybe like a yard inside. Like a receiver, if he's just take off and run if he's running like a fade ball. So if he just takes off and run, but against a good DB, he's going to get into his hip and squeeze that to the sideline. So you're looking for a receiver who knows like, okay, I'm going to go attack him and try to like square him up, be patient, give him a move inside, and then get back outside. Give my quarterback some space. So like little like leverage, does he know how to attack leverage? A DB. I look, route running is a lot more mental than people think. And then it's proven when I'm sure everybody saw that clip of Devontae Adams on that podcast talking about his press release game. And he talks about how he puts on Terminator mask and he's got like 5 different releases just in his head ready to roll. I was like, you look for that in a receiver because like if they're calculated like that, guys are good athletes. There's no question about it. But if they're calculated like that, that's what's going to beat a DB who's at the top, the very, very top of your game, because DB is so hard to play. So those guys are so talented.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's the best receiver in the NFL right now? According
probably
in
Adams.
your opinion. Adams.
Yeah, probably Adams. I would say him or Kupp. I like Jefferson this year a lot because so like their Vikings are going to be running what the Rams ran last year. So Justin Jefferson is essentially Cooper Kupp. So it's like he's going to have a huge year, a lot of highlights. So fun.
Hey guys, and a lot of the things that Coach Grant is mentioning here, if you go check out his TikTok, Coach Grant Caraway, I know he's got tons of videos up there kind of breaking down some of these things that he looks for with quarterbacks and wide receivers. It is top tier stuff right there. So make sure you guys are checking him out over at Coach Grant Caraway. Coach Grant, I think the next thing we were hoping to have you do for us is going to be a little bit more challenging than some of the stuff you usually do. The wide receivers are usually grading. We had some of the people on the show here run some routes, and we were hoping that you could break down these routes for us. Let us know what kind of receiver, what was the good, what was the bad. Are we going to make it in the NFL? And the first one we had for you was Coop. So it's going to be little on that screen. Coop is the one in the gray shirt right there, the really handsome guy.
I wore the same shirt I was wearing during this clip on the show now, so that you can identify me easily.
It was an accident, wasn't it?
Entirely. This clip is from the Fantasy Football Expo, where a bunch of fantasy analysts decided to play some flag football. And yes, someone did tear their Achilles tendon, but we still have
a former college DB.
I know, yeah, one of the better athletes.
That's 82. Wow. That's 82. Punted from the 82.
So clean.
Look at that, out of bounds. What is this,
I don't want to speak
a pixel video.
It's a video for ants. So
yeah.
From what you can see, what do you got for me?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of, if you don't mind, could you just play it again? Yeah. I know where to look now. I didn't know where to
Keith,
look.
Run it back.
You don't have super zoom vision?
Sorry, the little gray ant.
No.
Where's the alt?
Punted from the 88. Wow.
There it is.
That's 82. Punted from the
little
88.
turnaround.
Wow.
About 100% of my targets, all 2 of them.
Wow.
On the inside shoulder.
I mean, the catch is solid. You put the ball. You put the ball away. You turn with it. It's not a bad catch. Possessing receiver. That's what we're looking for.
Ooh.
The video cuts out. The video cuts out before I did a spin move and lost like 3 yards.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Did you get
that's what I figured. That's what I figured.
Yeah. I mean, like it's flag football. You're not gonna do a spin move if you get the ball, right? Like
no. It's the only option.
That's the only move.
How many spin moves per route is the optimal number of spin moves? Like every time you touch the ball, how many spin moves should you be trying to do? 3, 5?
Grant.
One at the most. Preferably zero.
Preferably zero. I believe this is a question for Grant. How many times should I hurdle when I'm in flag football?
Can I hurdle my own teammates?
Yeah.
Over the age of 35, zero. That's
zero hurdles. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Put me in the. I think I got one more. I got one more year left at the expo of hurdles and spin moves, and then I got to be.
That's it. Then you hanging up the cleats.
And Coop got possession receiver. You know what? That could have been a lot worse. You could have been roasted, but we got JL's video coming up next. So JL ran a route for us yesterday, right, JL?
All right.
I did.
What shirt are you wearing?
This right now is Mike Williams.
No, in the video.
This is a Mike Williams jersey, Simon.
I'm gonna fight you. We'll get JL's video playing momentarily for Grant to look at.
Terrible.
I'm not sure why any of you listen.
The music. Why do you have the ball?
Yes. Looks like you cramped up in the middle of it.
Well, now Rosie's running the route.
Wow, look at that. Is that Kadarius Toney?
Kadarius Rosie.
The agility, staying low to the ground.
Look at that. Keeping that low center of gravity.
So, what'd you think of those routes?
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to get your knees up. You got to get your knees up when you run, man. That's like it looks like you're cramping like halfway into it. It's like you got to get your knees up. That's number one. You got to sell it. You got to sell my back. You got to sell the fade.
Threw it out. I didn't want a Daniel Jones, so I just overcompensated. You know.
Yeah.
JL, Grant comes on. He sees your route and he goes, "Doesn't that hurt? Doesn't that hurt to run like that?"
Yes, it does.
Yeah, no,
what about the drop of the dog?
It's like when a guy cramps. It looks like, and he tightens up at the last 10 yards.
You look like Daniel Jones on that run where he fell on his face.
It's the opposite. I was trying not to Daniel Jones.
What about the dog route? I thought the dog had some nice agility there.
The dog looked good. I'm not gonna that was pretty tight. Like turn the corner tight. That wasn't too bad.
Hey, listen, I'm her agent, so you let me know.
Yeah.
You need a dog out there in camp. I got him.
I just want to spend every morning having someone come on and roast JL's athletic ability. Like, just start my day off with like a roast of like, man, lift your knees up a little bit.
This is the guy who almost face planted in front of Matthew Berry.
Yeah, I did almost face plant in front of Matthew Berry. That was a little embarrassing. I think we've got one more for you, and this one's a treat. Our producer Keith ran a route for us, if I'm not mistaken. So don't hold back on this one, Grant. Okay, like whatever you see wrong in this one, just let him have it.
Keith is an absolute piece of
Look at that footwork.
Look at that footwork in the Sunday best.
Yeah, no, I mean, nice, tippy toes.
That's how you do it.
Moving good.
Oh.
It's not bad. Your toes to run fast. It's all right. He didn't get his knees up.
He's got to high point that ball. He's got to high point that ball at the end, though, dude. Can we see that one more time?
Was there a ball? Was there a ball in that?
Yeah, at the very end, I think.
At very end.
Invisible.
Was there a ball?
Okay.
He said I sped up the video. He looked like he was fully stopped when he caught that ball. He was at a complete stop.
That was definitely like 7 different videos edited together.
Yeah.
Too.
Said he sped it up, made him look faster.
Pretty clean.
A lot of
I thought it was
clips.
pretty clean. Gotta high point that ball though, Keith.
Hey,
A lot of camera work.
Yeah, we call that the lonely work, and at night let's call it the lonely work.
The lonely work.
The lonely work. At night.
Yeah,
That's when you get your spin move practicing.
Yeah, I'm also not sure about that equipment, dude.
Nobody's watching.
Yeah,
Not sure about that equipment, dude. What,
You gotta
those a
get it,
pair
you
of
gotta get
like
it.
Allen Edmonds.
Got to get it.
Yeah.
Grant, thank you so much for
Be the man,
thank you
Grant.
so much for helping break down those routes for us, giving people some things to look for, and giving JL, Keith, and Coop some things to work on. Some things to improve their route running. I want to thank you so much for joining us today, my man. Guys, if you want to check out Coach Grant Calloway, find him on TikTok at Coach Grant Caraway. It is Coach Grant Caraway just on TikTok. He's got a ton of videos on there with some of the tips that we
They're
talked
so
about
good.
today, but so much. God,
I was watching them
good.
earlier this week. They're really good.
They're so much fun to watch, just running through those. And then if you want to get in on some of his quarterback and wide
Appreciate it,
receiver
guys.
training, you can find him at First Down Training. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, my man. This was an absolute blast.
No, yeah, no problem.
Sweet. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Grant. Guys,
You the man, Grant.
We are approaching
dude. I
the
like
end
that.
of our show, but before we go, we wanted to talk a little bit about rivalries. Some of our favorite rivalries in sports. Last night was the backyard brawl, the return of the backyard brawl, West Virginia versus Pitt. And oh man, what a kickoff to the college football season it was. I know there was some other games last week. Nebraska lost in Dublin, but this was my first big college football game of the season that I got super invested in, and it lived up to the hype. It was so much fun to watch. These teams haven't played since 2011, I believe, is the last time they played, but it's one of my favorite rivalries in college sports. And these kids, they were in middle school last time they played out on the field, but something about the rivalry just lives within the spirit of the schools, right? These kids have never played in it. They were hardly even aware of football the last time these teams played, and it got chippy out there. You could feel the tension between those two teams. And there's hardly anything I like more than college football hatred. Know what I mean? Just unbridled college football hatred. It's just so much fun.
It is.
I'm not a big college football guy, but the stories you hear are insane. It's people, fans murdering the trees of other fans and stuff. I think it was Auburn and Alabama. They went and poisoned the trees.
Yeah. Toomer's
It's
Corner.
yeah, crazy, dude. That's just that's out of control, dude. And I know Harvard and Yale do their little pranks and stuff, so it is entertaining for sure. It makes me wish I was more of a college football guy, but it's we just have too many professional teams constantly winning championships here up in New England. So it's
God, it's so hard.
it's all these. I'm trying to keep up. I'm trying to keep up with the scores, but I'm at a parade where they got bringing a trophy around town and stuff. So it's kind of hard.
God, you freaking massholes.
Jail, are there any rivalries or rivalry memories, maybe from our time at Clemson?
I was gonna
anything in South
say-
Carolina that stands out to you.
You brought up the what do you call that, vandalism at Auburn, and while Simon and I were in Clemson, we witnessed, just because we were there, I mean, we wouldn't actually witness, Howard's Rock at Clemson was defaced by South Carolina fans. A couple of South Carolina fans showed up in the middle of the night and chopped the rock in half, and then got charged. So was it worth it? Probably not.
This may be news to you years and years after, but it was actually a Clemson fan that defaced the rock. It was a Clemson fan that took a chunk of the rock off. We thought it was a South Carolina fan. It was someone who went in there, and I guess I'm assuming drunk out of their mind wanted a piece of that rock. If you made that decision,
I thought it was old people.
I thought it was an older
camera
guy.
footage was an older guy.
It be your own people sometimes,
That's
he's
true.
out there stealing. So it was kind of trying to take back a piece of the moon out of respect for the moon. He's a Clemson guy and he went at home wanted to be oh, I got some of the rock here. That's what happened.
Yeah, that's supposedly what happened. He went in there and stole it like that. But that Clemson South Carolina rivalry, I feel outside of South Carolina, it doesn't get the respect for how much vitriol there is in that relationship. Like we talk about, you go back, one of the biggest fights in sports history, Malice at the Palace, right? In the NBA game in Detroit. The day before, there was a bench clearing brawl between Clemson and South Carolina where they had to get state troopers out on the field to break it up. Both benches fully cleared. There were punches being thrown. And that's just that's just it overflowing into that rivalry. I know when we were there, they beat us 5 times in a row, JL, and it was
and then
hell.
We beat them back now.
They were running around campus, giving high fives to everyone after the game, just like looking so cocky, no pun intended, because they're the Gamecocks.
My ex-girlfriend went to South Carolina after we broke up, so that tells you all you need to know about South Carolina.
That's it. Goop, I know you're not a college sports fan, but you are a Boston sports fan. Are there any rivalries that just rustle your jimmies, get you all worked up? You're just you get worked up when you think about this team with any of your pro sports teams?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, you have to contractually obligated to hate the Yankees. You truly are when you're here. It has to be there are 2 seasons. There's basically the season where you're rooting for the Red Sox, and then there's the season where you're rooting against the Yankees. And it's almost more important that the Yankees don't win than for the Red Sox to win. And the same goes oddly for not even a division rival, but with Boston. You have to root against LA because they have so many championships and we have so many championships, and you got to keep that total low, right? So we have those rivalries going on here. But my favorite rivalries, honestly, aren't even the ones here. It's the ones in the AFC North. Man, I love watching those teams go at it. The Steelers, Browns, Bengals, Ravens, those games are always so gritty and so vicious. Remember that the Steelers Bengals game on Thursday Night Football a couple years back, where I think it was actually the game that Ryan Shazier got hurt, but that was one of the most violent games I've ever watched. So I love those games.
Yeah, guys, we are wrapping up here today. Coming up next, Moose and Keith are going to be on, and they're going to have Connor Orr from SI, so make sure you tune around for that. And then come back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. to hang out with us on the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show. We'll be back live then. Until then, adios, everyone.
Hasta mañana.